Hello, everybody. I would like to call to order the City Council meeting of June 2nd, 2026. Councilmember Falcone is unable to join us this evening. I would entertain a motion to excuse her.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, second by Councilmember Arnold to excuse Councilmember Falcone. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, thank you everyone for coming tonight. We are going to start this evening with swearing in our new fire chief. I have the great honor of swearing in our new fire chief, Chief Patrick Ledoux. Before I do that, I want to take an opportunity to acknowledge the incredible contributions of our
Seems like a guy.
We'll give a moment, see if we can fix that.
Mayor, would you like me to call the roll?
Oh, that would be helpful too. I'm so excited about all our guests. Yes, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, this is definitely a full house. Councilmember Tim Chizen.
Present.
Councilmember Arnold.
Here.
Councilmember Prem.
Here.
Councilmember Pascal.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Black.
Here.
Mayor Curtis.
Here.
And Councilmember Falcone has been excused.
Thank you. Thank you, City Clerk and Deputy Mayor. All right, I think we fixed our sound problem. So I have the great honor of swearing in our new fire chief, Patrick Ledoux. Before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the incredible contributions of our outgoing fire chief, Joe Sanford, who will be retiring after more than 4 decades of extraordinary dedication to the fire department, the city, and the Kirkland community. Chief Sanford joined the Kirkland Fire Department in 1981 and rose through every rank, serving as our fire chief for the last 10 years. He led the department through the COVID pandemic, when Kirkland became a national focal point and delivered all of the projects, initiatives, and resources promised by Fire Proposition 1 on time and under budget. On the consent calendar tonight, the council formally commends and honors Chief Sanford with the Council Outstanding Service Award, which is also known as the Council Coin. The council was proud to present him with the Council Coin at the May 7th Community Appreciation Night, and we are so grateful for his extraordinary career of service. Thank you, Joe. And now I will let the city manager introduce our new fire chief.
I would be delighted. Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, and members of our department. It's truly an honor to be here at a passing of the torch. It's been amazing to serve with Joe Sanford as our chief for 10 years. When he announced his retirement, we did a national search, and the national search told us that our best candidate was right here in our own organization, in our own backyard with Patrick Ledoux. I'm thrilled to have the honor to appoint him as our next great fire chief. He is currently a deputy chief for the city of Kirkland. However, he has 30 years of experience serving this region as a firefighter EMT. He has served as the chair of the Zone 1 Operations Chief and has been a key partner in the South King County Fire Training Consortium. In our memo in the packet, there is a long list of his many numerous achievements and certifications. But what I really want to say is the Chief Ledoux is really known for his collaborative leadership style, his operational expertise, and his commitment to accountability and transparency. He was by far and away the #1 choice of all the panels and the director's team, and after my interview. In addition to his professional work, Chief Ledoux has been actively involved in youth sports as a coach, as an association president, and a board member. We are very honored to have him in our organization today, and very much are honored to have him as our next fire chief. So welcome, Chief Ledoux.
There we go. All right. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Patrick Ledoux, do solemnly swear and affirm
I, Patrick Ledoux, solemnly swear and affirm
to acknowledge and accept the position of Kirkland Fire Chief,
to acknowledge and accept the position of Fire Chief,
to faithfully and honestly perform all of my duties to the best of my ability.
to faithfully perform and honor.
Okay, I'll break it up for you. To faithfully and honestly perform all of my duties
Perform honestly and faithfully all of my duties
to the best of my ability.
to my ability.
to uphold and follow the high standards of the Kirkland Fire Department,
to uphold the high standards of the Kirkland Fire Department,
to protect the lives and property of the community,
to protect the lives and the property of the community,
community members who I am sworn to serve.
community members who I'm sworn to serve.
Congratulations, Chief Ledoux. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Okay, so AI can help you with speeches, but they can't speak for you. So I'll try my best to make it through here. Okay. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager Kurt Triplett, Deputy City Managers Jim Lopez, Tracy Dunlap, and City Directors and staff. I'm deeply honored and humbled to stand before you today as the Fire Chief of Kirkland Fire Department. First, I want to thank Chief Sanford for his service to this community and providing me this excellent opportunity. He's built a remarkable department, and as City Manager Triplett said, I have some very big shoes to fill, both literally and figuratively. I want to recognize administrative staff and chief officers I have the privilege to working with every day. Their dedication, professionalism, and support have helped make this transition possible. Throughout my career, I've been blessed by incredible people who have invested in me along the way. To my friends, family, mentors, former fire chiefs, commissioners, colleagues, regional partners, thank you. Your guidance and encouragement, trust, and occasional ribbing have shaped me into the leader I am today. I also want to thank my dad, my mother, and father-in-law for the love and support. Oh boy, sorry. To my children, Olivia, Evelyn, Nolan, and my son-in-law, Jacob, thank you for your patience and support. You've endured more fire department conversations on the table than anyone should have to endure. And obviously to my wife, Jamie, of 25 years, she's the one who deserves this promotion. She supported me through long shifts, late night calls, missed holidays, and every challenge that comes with a career in the fire service. None of this would be possible without you. Okay. Over the course of my career, I've had the amazing opportunity to command several large-scale incidents, lead regional initiatives, and deploy firefighters to serve and protect communities across the nation. I led 11 strike teams with more than 230 Washington firefighters to the Palisades Fire in California. These experiences prepared me for many things, but most importantly, they prepared me for what I believe is the best job in the world. To lead the incredible men and women of the Kirkland Fire Department. To the members of Kirkland Fire, thank you for welcoming me with open arms. I'm excited about our future together. We have an exceptional department, outstanding ability, and a proud tradition of service. Together, we will continue to build that foundation. I promise to keep the speech short, like me. Although, to the council's benefit, I'll follow up with a 64-page follow-up memo with a 10-slide presentation that will only be about an hour. I'm excited to leave this fire department and the next chapter and continue serving the community. The C-Shift crew at Fire Station 22 asked for a shout-out during my introduction. So in keeping that promise, I'll stop by soon to teach you how to properly operate apparatus bay doors and how to reset the garbage disposal so we don't have to do a facilities request. And lastly, to our very special ladder company members here, I'll leave you with this. 2 bid spots are opening at Station 27 next bid cycle. I'm looking forward to your, thank you for your support and looking for the opportunity to serve as your fire chief.
All right, we're going to take a few minutes, but the council does want to congratulate you. We're grateful for your service, and along with your family, we are very grateful for your service. So now the family's going to come up and do some pictures, and then we're going to have the firefighters come and take some pictures. So this is going to take a little while. Everybody just pack your patience. Come on up. No. You're welcome. Have a wonderful evening. Congratulations. You too. You're welcome. All right, we are now going to move on to our honors and proclamations. Before I hand it off to the city manager to provide more information on this year's Pride Proclamation, I'd like to read a brief statement. Each year, Pride gives us an opportunity to celebrate, and it's always a meaningful to gather together at flag raisings, community celebrations, and other gatherings. In addition to celebrating Pride Month, is also rooted in remembrance. It asks us to remember the long journey that it has taken to get where we are today. And this year, we gather at a difficult time. Across the country, we continue to see deliberate efforts to target members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, especially transgender, non-binary, and gender-diverse people. We see efforts to erase identities, restrict rights, and dismantle programs and protections that help people live safely and fully. These actions are not theoretical or abstract. Recently, our region lost Juniper Blessing, a 19-year-old transgender woman and University of Washington student. Juniper's life was taken through an act of terrible violence, and we grieve with her family, her friends, her classmates, and all those who loved her. So before we continue, I would like to invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence as we remember Juniper Blessing and all those who have lost their lives or suffered harm because of anti-2S LGBTQIA+ hate. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Councilmember Prim will be reading the Pride Proclamation. City Manager, will you please do the introduction?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. We'll be declaring the month of June as Pride Month in the city of Kirkland for all the reasons that will be enumerated in the proclamation. I just want to draw everyone's attention to the memo in the packet does include a list of Pride events that are going to be happening throughout the month of June and also later in the year. And we encourage all members of the community to join us in those events. So, thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, it's been a little. Thank you very much. Yes, receiving the proclamation. I apologize. So it is Jessa Davis, who uses she, her pronouns. Jess is the executive director of the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy, and she has been a leader in other local advocacy work, serving as the 2S LGBTQIA+ community, and we're very happy to have her, so welcome.
Pride Month, June 2026. Whereas Pride is celebrated year-round throughout the country and typically in June to commemorate the Stonewall riots of June 28, 1969, which was a catalyst to the gay rights movement nationwide and worldwide. And whereas Marsha P. Johnson, a Black transgender woman, and Sylvia Rivera, an Afro-Latina transgender woman, were vital activists during the Stonewall riots. And whereas Pride Month celebrates and commemorates the two-spirit lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, and asexual plus 2S LGBTQIA+ community, who are our friends, our family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers, and who meaningfully contribute to our community in innumerable ways. And whereas the city has shown its pride through installing its first Pride crosswalk, modeled after the intersex inclusive progress flag, and by lighting up the Totem Lake Connector Bridge throughout June in rainbow lights since 2023, with both acts intended as symbols of love, hope, inclusion, and welcoming for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And whereas to celebrate Pride this year, the city is hosting a Pride flag raising for city staff on June 2nd and is partnering with Kirkland Urban to host a Pride celebration on June 14th. And whereas allies can show solidarity with the 2S LGBTQIA+ community through silencing further harm with sustained year-round efforts beyond Pride Month, normalizing pronoun usage, and promoting the significant contributions to the world made by 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals. And whereas the city welcomes and celebrates 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals, affirming through Resolution R5548, R5686, and R5693 their right and dignity to live authentically, safely, and without fear of discrimination or harm. Now, therefore, Mayor Kelly Curtis, on behalf of the City Council, does hereby proclaim June 2026 as Pride Month in the city of Kirkland and invites our community to honor the anniversary of the Stonewall riots and to celebrate 2S LGBTQIA+ members of our community.
Thank you very much. Yes, I have a few things prepared. I'm going to set this here. I should have printed my thing, but I'm going to read from my phone. I apologize. Thank you so much for the moment of silence as well. It gives me pause to think about a number of people that I know I've lost in my life recently in the last years, and so it means a lot. Your words. So I want to thank everyone for inviting me to be here. I made a bit of a trip on the bus from Seattle, but I've been hanging out with a few friends of mine here doing some work in the local community. So my name's Jessa Davis, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the executive director of the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy. Excuse me. And I'm here tonight to thank the city for recognizing Pride, not just as a celebration, but as a commitment to dignity and equity for all. Because for many of us, Pride doesn't begin with parades. It starts with finding each other. And I'm going to talk here a bit about some of the work that I do with the organization. It's activist work that I've been doing in the region more broadly. So long before there were protections in the law or even language to describe our lives, queer people built what we needed to survive and thrive on our own. We built networks of care, we built support systems, and we built chosen families. And the work that I do often intersects with chosen family in many ways, especially in the queer community. As Armistead Maupin wrote, you don't get to choose your biological family, but you do get to choose your logical family. And that idea isn't just about vibes for us, it's a lived reality. Your chosen family is the friend who shows up when your own relatives won't. It's the community that makes space for you when the world tries to erase you. It's the people who see you, who affirm you, and who stand beside you, not because they have to, but because they choose to. And that act of choosing one another is so powerful, and it's so deeply human. At Open, our work is grounded in that truth. We advocate for legal protection and protections for people whose lives and relationships don't fit into narrow, outdated definitions of family and individual identity. Because the law still lags behind the reality of how people really live their lives in many ways, and that gap has consequences. When our chosen family isn't recognized, people can be excluded from hospital rooms, from housing protections, and from the right to make decisions for the people they love the most. And that's not just a policy failure, it's a moral injustice. Sorry, I thought about something for a moment there. This means a lot to me, and yeah, so it's happening in a broader context right now. This is something I think about a lot. Just this month, Tennessee declared June a so-called nuclear family month, and they defined that as family is a husband and his wife and his children. So on the surface, that might sound benign if you're not paying attention closely enough, but this is part of a larger effort to define which families are valid, which people are valid, which kind of relationships are valid. And when we look closely, the movements targeting transgender people and working to roll back marriage equality are attacking bodily autonomy. They're challenging the very idea that consenting adults should have the freedom to build their lives and relationships on their own terms. And unlike those lawmakers, the city of Kirkland cares about protecting families and all families. The history tells us something important, though, that when rights are taken from one group, they don't stop there. And that's why Pride matters. Pride is not just a celebration of who we are, it's a declaration that our lives, our relationships, and our communities are worthy of dignity and protection. It's a reminder that diversity of families in our community is not a threat, it's a strength, right? So this Pride Month, let's consider this a call to action for all of us to build a future where no one has to rely solely on their own in order to survive, in order to belong in a community. And I accept this proclamation not just with gratitude, but with resolve. Resolve to continue this work, resolve to protect the communities that have protected me, and resolve to ensure that every person, no matter who they are, whom they love, or how they build their family, has the freedom to live openly, safely, and with dignity. So thank you very much. Yes, would Anna and
And now Councilmember Tim Chisholm will read our Youth Month proclamation. City Manager, I think we have a bunch of people coming up for this one.
We do. It's awesome to have the entire Youth Council here, as many of them as could make it. So we're going to be claiming the month of June as Youth Council Month in Kirkland. We're doing this because this is the 30th anniversary of the Youth Council, which was founded in 1996. So we're excited to have that. The proclamation is going to be received by the leadership of the Youth Council.
All right.
We also have other members of the Youth Council here, as well as family, friends, and advisors.
So we are proclaiming June 2026 as Youth Council Month. Whereas in 1996, the city of Kirkland established the Kirkland Youth Council to ensure that the voices and perspectives of young residents are an essential and permanent part of the civic process. And whereas for 30 years, the KYC has served as an official youth sounding board for the city of Kirkland and regional partners, providing critical input on local projects, county alternatives, and long-range community plans to ensure that local government remains responsive to the needs of its youth. And whereas the KYC serves as a model of democratic leadership governed by a peer-elected leadership team that fosters a culture of respect and civic responsibility, and whereas the KYC upholds a high standard of excellence with its 40 members demonstrating strong, attentive, meaningful community service and leadership in peer-led restorative justice through the Teen Traffic Court, while also managing programs such as the Mini Grant Review Committee and the We've Got Issues media productions. And whereas the KYC serves as a vital educational resource, producing guidance for peers on essential life transitions, including college planning, financial literacy, and career preparation, ensuring that Kirkland's youth are equipped for future success. And whereas through the Biennial Youth Summit and various Keystone projects, the KYC has consistently provided a venue for teens to openly share their ideas, turning those insights into actionable recommendations for City Council and school leadership. And whereas for 3 decades, these youth ambassadors have proven that the youth of Kirkland are not just future leaders, but active and essential stakeholders in the success and character of our city today. Now, therefore, Mayor Kelly Curtis proclaims June as Youth Council Month in honor of the Kirkland Youth Council's 30th anniversary and in celebration of the members, alumni, advisors who have contributed countless hours of dedicated service to the Youth Council over the past 3 decades, creating an enduring legacy of youth civic engagement as a cornerstone of our community.
Thank you so much, Mayor Curtis, members of the City Council, and city staff. On behalf of the Kirkland Youth Council, I want to express our gratitude for this recognition and for the city's continued investment in youth voice and leadership. It is truly an honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Kirkland Youth Council. For 30 years, the Youth Council has provided young people with a seat at the table and the opportunity to make a meaningful impact in our community. As the co-chair of the Kirkland Youth Council, I've seen firsthand how empowering it is when youth are trusted not only to share their perspectives, but to help create solutions for community issues. This year, we've worked on initiatives such as the Youth Summit and the Youth Bill of Rights. We've worked on many initiatives to ensure that student voices are heard and reflected in the future of Kirkland. None of that would be possible without the support of the City Council, city staff, and the many youth council members who have served before us. Today, we're celebrating 30 years of youth leadership, civic engagement, and service. We're honored to be part of that legacy, and we're excited to continue building on it for future generations of Kirkland youth.
That was very well said, Leanne. I would also like to extend, as the other co-chair, our thank you to City Council, our KYC alumni, our KYC advisor, Reggie, who has put in the past 30 years to continue KYC and to continue allowing students with the opportunity to share their youth voice inside the city. As a senior myself, this is my last year on KYC, and I know I speak for a lot of us when I say that KYC has really impacted us, and it is definitely something that we will carry with us through the rest of our lives. We have alumni here today who are coming back after many years, and that kind of just shows the impact that Kirkland Youth Council has had, and none of that would have been possible without the support of the City Council and just all of our city staff and everyone who has put effort into making Kirkland Youth Council possible. I would also like to say thank you for this declaration of KYC month. This seems like a very big step forward to ensuring that we continue to appreciate youth voice and take it into account in the city. And just once again, on behalf of the entire Youth Council, I would like to say thank you.
Yeah, you guys already beat me. Come on up, join the picture. And let's all scoot down this way a little bit. So any youth council members that want to come, alumni are allowed to. It's almost like the firefighter picture. All right, let's keep squishing this way, everybody. Yeah, layers are good. Reggie, do you want to be in the picture? Come on.
Reggie.
Yeah. Keep coming towards me.
Say one thing about Reggie.
Oh, sure. Well, let's do it now, in case everybody. So she has something she wants to say.
All right. Hi, my name is Kristen Chimukuro, and I had the honor of being a member of Kirkland Youth Council from 2004 to 2007, and it's a huge thanks to Reggie and all that she does for us. Even years past after I graduated, you were there for me and helped me with college applications and just other resources that you had from your wealth of knowledge. So we really appreciate your tenure and beyond, your graciousness and your willingness to lead youth in all the turns and twists that we have in our lives. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Did you?
Oh, we just want to invite the KYC members for cake in the
Oh, go for it.
And for anyone who is KYC member, an alumni, or any individual who's affiliated with KYC, we would now like to invite you to grab some cake outside. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And then you started smiling. I know I did.
All right. Now we are moving on to items from the audience. This is a time in our meeting when we normally hear from the public. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. We will provide up to a total of 45 minutes for our items from the audience, with no more than 6 speakers on a subject, regardless of their position on a subject. To address the council during items from the audience, please sign up using the online public comment instruction link or the posted QR code in chambers. For those participating by phone, please dial *9 to be recognized to speak. Items from the audience is an important part of our business meeting, and we ask that everyone be treated with kindness and respect. Please do not clap or applaud or otherwise openly express your agreement or disagreement with the speaker. When that happens, even when supporting a speaker, it can be disruptive of the meeting and discourage others from sharing a different viewpoint. We discourage people from using obscenities and making personal attacks against others. And we ask that you direct your comments to council, not to staff or audience members. In addition, because they can be disruptive, signs and placards are not allowed in council chambers during our meetings, regardless of their content. Kirkland prides itself on being a welcoming, respectful community. We want everyone to feel like they belong in council chambers, expressing their viewpoints. City Clerk, who do we have signed up?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 9 guests wishing to speak at this time, all of them on site. We'll take the first 3 in this order: Zoe Bubber, Al Valente, and Meredith Bogus.
Zoe. Welcome.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the Kirkland City Council. I'm Zoe. I'm here with my classmate Claire. We're high school students in Kirkland. We're taking an urban planning class, and we had a couple of questions about the road infrastructure around our school and homes. Every day we pass the 85th Street roundabout, and we've been observing the construction for a couple of years now. From the models of the final product, it looks like it'll be a 3-level interchange with the top layer of the highway, the bottom, the roundabout, and the middle for the buses and pedestrians. We urge the council to make some data and insights that result in meaningful conclusions and physical changes more accessible to the public. This will ensure Kirkland knows the reason and positive outcomes of recent constructions. For example, the shift in estimated time to cross the intersection before and after, and what makes the new trade-off worth it, as well as the projected increase in public transportation users. We are so appreciative of everything you do for the city. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Zoe. Al?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Al Vlett, and I'm a resident of Kirkland. I'm speaking in opposition to Resolution R5735, Item 9B on tonight's agenda. Tonight, this council is being asked to do 5 things simultaneously: approve a $10 million purchase commitment, authorize $4.4 million in general capital contingency spending, authorize an approximately $4.7 million interfund loan from the Development Services Fund, divert $1 million from a named transportation project, and direct staff to prepare a $15 million bond ordinance for future action. All of this is being asked in a single evening on the basis of documents posted just 4 days ago. without an audited financial statement for fiscal year 2024-25, without answers to the following questions. First, what is the all-in cost? The purchase price is one component. Renovation, Americans with Disabilities Act compliance on a 37-year-old building, deferred maintenance, and annual operating costs have not been publicly estimated. The capital improvement program already identifies the neighborhood recreation center's construction program at $34.8 million. This acquisition is being pursued outside the framework with no life cycle cost analysis. Second, have the deed covenants been legally cleared? The purchase and sale agreement prohibits use of this property as a place of public entertainment or amusement. That restriction may apply to fitness classes, sports leagues, and youth programs. No written city attorney opinion has been disclosed. In 2018, this city was forced into a costly reversal on the same street because deed restrictions were not resolved before commitment. That pattern must not be repeated tonight. Third, the financing structurally sound? The proposed $4.7 million interfund loan draws on the Development Services Fund. No audited fiscal year 2024-25 financial statements have been published. The 16.2 average balance cited in the staff memo is an unaudited staff-reported figure. The short-term loan is being authorized before the long-term bond ordinance exists, a reversal of the sequence the city's own fiscal policies require. Fourth, what was traded? Resolution 5735 permanently diverts $1 million from STC 11100, a street preservation project on 124th Avenue in the same Kingsgate corridor this acquisition is intended to serve. This acquisition is advancing on an accelerated timeline that asks the council to approve the purchase, the bridge financing, and the framework for future debt repayment, all before the financing process is complete and before audited financial statements are available.
Al, your time's up.
This city has, excuse me, can I just make one sentence?
One sentence.
This city has over $695 million in identified unfunded capital needs. These questions must be answered publicly before tonight's vote is called.
Thank you. All right, next we have Meredith.
Meredith, followed by Rick Chesmore and Kathy Lofi.
Go ahead,
Good evening,
welcome.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. My name is Meredith Bogus. I've been a member of the Kirkland Women's Club for 3 years and currently serve as the president of the organization. Last week, we sent a letter to the city manager and city council requesting $50,000 to upgrade the kitchen and windows in the Kirkland Women's Club building. I am here to speak to this request. For those of you not familiar with the Kirkland Women's Club, our building is right across the street. We were founded in 1924 by a small group of women in this community. They raised money to build the clubhouse in 1925. Initially, this clubhouse served as the first public library with support from the city, then as a well baby clinic. Now, it's used as a gathering place for service initiatives, educational programs, club meetings, and community events. It's lately had a resurgence. We have a very active volunteer board with 6 members. Our membership grew from 4 in 2020 to over 50 members now. We have launched 5 community service program areas focused on arts, education, outreach, environment, and health and wellness. Our community impact in FY26 was significant. We supported over 10 local nonprofit organizations through volunteer projects and donations. Those included Meals to Helen's Place, Camp United We Stand, Mother's Day baskets to moms served by Friends of Youth, bundles of clothing to moms served by the WIC Clinic, and so many more. Overall, we've donated over $5,000 to nonprofit organizations, including funding to paint a mural at the Village at Totem Lake, upcoming. We have also are in process. Tomorrow, we'll be awarding 3 $1,500 scholarships to local high school students at Juanita and Lake Washington tomorrow. Our clubhouse has served as the hub for KWC, meetings, and community service initiatives for decades, but is now in need of upgrades. We have a very busy and highly committed building committee that has been working with local architect Rick Chesmore, which you will hear from next, to develop a master plan for the building. We are incredibly thankful for Rick for the pro bono services he is providing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Rick, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Rick Chesmore. I'm an architect and founding partner of Chesmore Buck Architecture some 33 years ago. We began our firm in a studio at 123 Lake Street South in downtown Kirkland for the first 16 years. So I have obviously a personal and professional connection to this community. We were founded on the simple key principles of keeping our staff small, and perhaps the most important factor was 5 to 10% of our work in our office at any one time is pro bono work for nonprofit organizations like churches, Habitat for Humanity, and of course now the Kirkland Women's Club. During our 33-year history, we've remodeled and repurposed over 20 historical buildings, and some of these are prestigious list of National Registry of Historic Places. It's a preservation designation selected by the Department of Interior in Washington, D.C. Projects like installing a commercial kitchen at the Rosario Resort, built in 1906 on Orcas Island, the Butterworth Building, constructed in 1905 in downtown Seattle, the first seismic retrofit of an unreinforced masonry building in Pike Place Market, and just recently, the downtown Kirkland Webb Building, built in 1932 at the west end of Kirkland Avenue, and repurposed the entire building for the well-known Rock Creek Restaurant and the upper floor office space, a floor that had been vacant for over 40 years. We are excited to be collaborating on the Kirkland Women's Club facility for a couple of reasons, because it's Kirkland's original library, occupied in 1925, or 101 years ago. And the building is listed on the State Washington Historical Register and also a National Registry of Historical Places. I've been working with the Kirkland Women's Club Building Committee the past year, developing a master plan remodel to modernize the facility, and most recently with local general contractor Gerda Zeiler with Moss Bay Homes to define the phasing of the master plan. We have identified some immediate needs to improve the function of the building, including a phase 1 remodel of the main floor kitchen and replacement of the west-facing windows, which have experienced the effects of weather. We work with 2 different contractors to obtain bids for the kitchen and windows, with the lower of the 2 bids approximately $100,000. Our team working on this project is highly committed to providing the resources necessary to accomplish the entire master plan remodel. So in conclusion, it is for these reasons that I'm here tonight to express my support for providing funding to upgrade the kitchen and window project, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And next up, we have Kathy.
Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. My name is Kathy Lofi, and I am the co-treasurer of the Kirkland Women's Club, and I also participate on the building committee. And I'm here to request your support for funding upgrades to the kitchen and our windows in our clubhouse. First of all, I just wanted to invite you all to come across the street and see our clubhouse. I think you can most appreciate the, the current state in our master plan if you are there and see it yourself. We would love to have you whenever you have time. Overall, the building does have many needs. First of all, the kitchen is not fully functional. For example, the dishwasher doesn't work, and if you plug in multiple appliances into the kitchen, you will blow a fuse. In addition, our bathroom is not ADA compliant, and that is very concerning to us. And lastly, the stucco in the windows, particularly those facing the west side, are in need of repair, and we're concerned about water intrusion. While we have many needs, specifically phase 1 of the project will involve replacing 7 of the windows, particularly in the back of the building, upgrading the appliances in the kitchen, improving the electrical system in the kitchen, and replacing worn cabinets, counters, and flooring in the kitchen. So as Meredith mentioned, the building is a hub for our community service work and is used by many folks in the community for events such as nonprofit meetings and piano recitals. We happen to be in the middle of piano recital season at our club. This project, we believe, will benefit the community in a couple of really meaningful ways. First of all, it will enable us to better achieve our charitable mission as a club of serving the community. We do a number of community service projects throughout the year, including preparing meals for those in need, and an updated kitchen would help with those activities. Second, it will enhance the experience of all who use the clubhouse for meetings, events, and other activities. We have already secured $50,000 for the Phase 1 project. If the City of Kirkland is able to provide $50,000, we would have enough funding to complete Phase 1, which we're very excited about. It would be great if you would be willing to support this work and help us kick off our building improvements. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working more closely with the city in the future.
Thank you, Kathy. City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 4 guests remaining: Murray McKinney, Ava Spainhauer, Jess Harris, and Alex Timmerman.
Murray, welcome.
Yeah, Murray McKinney, Kirkland residents for 50-plus years. I decided to go ahead and put my name in for one of the boards and commissions, and I received an email back that I was not selected for an interview. And then I went ahead and took a look at who was selected for interviews, and there's 3 people that were shortlisted for 2 different boards or commissions, and apparently one person submitted for all the boards or commissions. So I think that's inherently unfair to run the process that way, because I think it should be open to more people. And you got one person trying to get on 2 different boards. Obviously, they're not going to be on both boards, but they took up being shortlisted. So I think that's an improper way to run that process. Second of all, Kirkland Highlands, I really feel like we're under attack. We had the water pressure issue, which we're beat to death, but I'm now being told it won't be operational till mid-July at the earliest, and that's per one of your civil inspectors. We've had the realignment of 112th, which still isn't satisfactory to the neighborhood, and people are still upset about the safety issue with southbound traffic being too close to the curb and pedestrians. And now we got the nightmare of the traffic circles and trying to get out of the neighborhood. I call it the figure 8 underneath 405, and we got that temporary circle. And it's really tough to get out of the neighborhood, especially during peak traffic hours. We got people coming up 7th from downtown trying to avoid Central. So not happy with that situation there. And then the fish tunnel under 405, that was a nightmare this last weekend. And I just don't understand it. We put a fish tunnel under 405. Where's the fish go coming down from 405 to get to the lake? I mean, when I got here, there was still a little remnant of a creek, and you built the post office and Kirkland Park Place, which I guess is now urban, but back when there was a creek, how are the fish going to get down to the lake and back up again? Are we going to truck them? Or I don't understand that whole process, but I know it's not a city issue, but it just seems like a real waste of money. But maybe we ought to open up a creek through Kirkland again. So anyway, that's it for tonight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Ava?
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Ava Marie Spainhauer. I'm a sophomore at Nikola Tesla STEM High School, but I live in Kirkland. Tonight, I wanted to talk about waste management in the city. So firstly, I will define waste management as is in our new climate action plan from Tesla STEM. So waste management is the systematic control, generation of, collection, transportation, processing, and disposal of waste materials, solid, hazardous, and liquid. So what I'm looking for tonight is to work with sustainability ambassadors to improve the waste collection bins and signage at local parks, as well as people's ability to use them through education. Right now, I surveyed 132nd Square Park, and we have only 2 recycling bins there and 13 waste ones. And so I'm hoping that maybe we can come to an agreement to add 1 or 2 more around the park. And also on the topic of waste management, I wanted to talk about Recology. As some of you may know, our city next to us, Redmond, has switched to Recology. And I think that it is a more sustainable company than waste management, and I would like to see us move to it. Recology wants to have a, quote, world without waste, and they are working to achieve their waste zero through many different methods, including using recycled materials, implementing energy-efficient appliances, using compressed natural gas to heat their offices and power their trucks, and practicing proper recycling and composting at their facilities, and encouraging a clean commuting to their employees. And they also want to benefit our community. They are 100% employee-owned, and they value customer satisfaction. Also, in the community section, they have been on the news and social media and in blogs for their work. And they have, they have the first North America's first hydrogen fuel cell powered electric refuse collection truck, which is very incredible. And they are releasing sustainability updates yearly to show their progress in creating a sustainable future for our community to look at. And speaking for Washington in particular, Recology has a success story in SeaTac. Windsor Heights is a multifamily property where Recology Cleanscapes worked in collaboration with King County Housing Authority to ensure the residents had and used proper bins to maximize waste diversion. And I think Kirkland could be another success story like that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and see how I can join the Kirkland Youth Council. Thank you so much for your time.
I was going to suggest that. Thank you, Ava. Appreciate it. All right, next we have Jess.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you. I sent an email earlier, and so I'm asking you to support a building code appendix that the State Building Code Council is considering in the summer. So I'm just going to read my letter that I sent. So I want just to bring your attention to an important climate policy being considered by the State Building Code Council. The proposal would establish an optional appendix in the building code that jurisdictions can voluntarily adopt for measuring and reducing embodied carbon impact of building materials. The comment period is now open, and I'm asking you to try to support this either individually or as a council. Kirkland is a signatory to the King County Collaborative, Code Collaborative, Climate Collaboration, that advocates for coordinated statewide approaches that reduce greenhouse gases. They are circulating a letter, and I believe your staff has that. Washington has made a lot of progress on operational emissions in buildings, but embodied carbon is the next big emerging field that has to be tackled. I really would appreciate the council supporting this amendment or this appendix. I think will be a missed opportunity if we don't get it in the code during this cycle. And then ideally, Kirkland could adopt it voluntarily. A few things that I've heard that you might hear as council is that it doesn't belong in the building code. However, we do not have an international green code that's adopted in the state, and so this is the best place for it, is in the building code. And it's really necessary to take on embodied carbon. That is the biggest challenge ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. And I don't know if you know, but Councilmember Arnold serves on the state building.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Alex.
Alex Zimmerman, followed by Joe Kunzler, joining us virtually.
Hi, my name is Alex Zimmerman, and I want to speak about something what is making me absolutely idiotic. I'm totally idiot, old Jew idiot. So you have this how to in charge with the city. Number one, ask question. And I repeat this before too. So I asked Deputy Mayor Nick Black 5 months ago question. In every meeting, you know this, every meeting, I come and ask him why he not answer. So I think because he play stupid. Yeah, what else you can do? Nothing. Yeah. Last meeting, I talk about, so I have 15 times candidate in Consul Arnold talk, I cannot speak about this. I think he plays stupid too. Yeah, it's okay, you know. I speak more than 5,000 times for the last 35 years. Right now, I have one question to you all. Guys, are you all stupid? You don't understand what is you print, what is you give to people, and what has happened here. How is this possible? 7 consul, all identical. That's exactly what as I told you for 20 plus years. So you all identical and nothing changed for 20 years. You understand what is I'm talking? Simple point, what is you can doing for 20 plus years. What does this mean? This means you bring everything to what is I call fascism with idiotic face. It don't have sense. House 7 Council quiet, you know what it means. When I ask deputy mayor for 5 months, answer me. Give me answer. I don't care what is kinds of answers this will be. What is paper you use. You can use a toilet paper. I'm okay with this too. Give me answer. In 5, 7 people, not react, 0. Guys, you don't shame doing this. You don't understand what's happened with America. What is king country #1 fascist country in America? It's one number point. Another point, you appoint today man who for a year working for you. It's very stupid. It's my professional opinion. You understand? For 40 years, almost for 40 years I live here, yeah. I never find one honest man who work for government in all 3 branches. Why? Because when people work for 40 years in same business, you know what it means. You like a family, you cannot be bad. You're supposed to be only good. This is exactly what is collapsed everything. What is, we have a revolution. Viva Trump, viva new American revolution. Stand up, slave and happy cow. Stop acting like a stupid, no. Acting make stupidity. This is exactly what is important right now. Be American is your
Alex,
duty. Yeah, thank you very much. I very appreciate it.
All right, now we have Joe Kunzler. Joe, are you there? Joe, are you there? Joe, are you ready?
Yes, I think so.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The last, I don't want to spend my 3 minutes just addressing the last speaker. I find him full of beyond sanity. But I really wish this council would ask him not to speak to you that way. I wish this council members would stand up. I'm on the phone. Yeah, I wish council members would stand up and ask Mr. Zimmerman to treat you with more respect. You're here at 8:32 at night in a packed council meeting, and some of you have children at home. God forbid they're watching this, and I'll just leave it at that. At some point, if we're going to have a representative democracy, you have to stand up to each other. Regardless of race, color, faith, creed, gender, or what have you. We just have to stand up for what's right. Furthermore, I am someone who has filed multiple complaints to Public Disclosure Commission about training. You will find among those recipients complaints, Sarah Perry, Jessica Forsythe, sadly, who I admit I'm Angela Burney, and 2 other great Americans in Washington. And because of that, we've been able to sort of stop through the use of public resources for campaigning. And that drives Mr. Zimmerman nuts because he doesn't do his homework. And with that, I will wish you well. I hope for the safety of everyone. And may you have a wonderful evening and great summer.
Thank you. City Clerk, anyone else?
No, our speakers list is concluded.
Thank you. We are now closing items from the audience. We're going to move on to special presentations. Next on our agenda is a special presentation from the Kirkland Youth Council discussing their 2025-2026 report. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So we're going to have a return of the leadership group, the 2 co-chairs and the rest of the leadership group, to provide you an update of all that the Youth Council has accomplished over last year. So welcome, team.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is the Kirkland Youth Council 2025-2026 recap. My name is Layan Satut, and I am a senior at Juanita High School and also the co-chair and Youth Summit coordinator of the Kirkland Youth Council.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amol Samir. I am a senior at Lake Washington High School, and I am the other co-chair and one of our co-community service project coordinators.
Hello, my name is Matthew Banter. I'm a senior at Lake Washington High School, and I'm the PR manager this year for Kirkland Youth Council.
My name is Mitchell Hickey, and I'm a sophomore at Lake Washington High School, and I'm the We've Got Issues video production lead for the council.
My name is Devin Harbani. I go to Lake Washington High School. I'm a senior, and I am a coordinator for the summit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Brackett. I am a senior at Juanita High School, and I am a co-community service project coordinator.
Hello, my name is Nandini. I go to Lake Washington High School, and I am the co-WGI lead.
All right, we're gonna start off first by talking about our recruitment and recap, which we do every year. At the very beginning in September, our main focus this year was to increase the diversity of our group to better represent Kirkland as a whole, especially the Kirkland youth. We had 82 applicants, which then we filtered out into 28 interviews. Interviews took place over 2 days, and we granted 15 minutes of time to each interviewee. Of this, we took 9 new members, increasing our overall members to 41.
This year, we organized and completed 7 service projects. Each of our members are required to complete at least 3 shifts, and each of these shifts are 90 minutes total. We serve a variety of communities, and we do a variety of service projects, which we'll go into more depth later. But here are the names. We participated in City Hall for All, Halloween Crafts, the Holiday Brunch, 12 Keys of Kirkland, Valentine's Day Goodie Bags, and Park Restorations.
Now running through them very quickly. As you can see up on the screen, the holiday brunch is one of the main ones we do down at Peter Kirk Community Center, making food and serving senior citizens down there as well as talking with them.
We also help out with local Kirkland runs, in which we host water and aid stations, and we serve all of the runners with water and Gatorade to help power them through their runs. We also organize Valentine's Day goodie bags, where we add cookies and activities and different treats to the goodie bags, and we put them all together, and then Reggie works with the city's homeless coordinator to deliver them to different homeless shelters.
And we also completed 3 park restorations this year, whether that's through mulching, removing invasive blackberries here in Kirkland, as well as planting trees. And then now kind of the impact of what this all is. So over this course of our 7 service projects, members through KYC have contributed over hundreds of service hours, specifically only through these projects, which has made an impact for youth as well as every age in Kirkland, as well as parks impacting every sector of Kirkland as well as the areas.
One of the several requirements each member of the Kirkland Youth Council is required to complete is a teen traffic court. There have been 18 teen traffic courts this year alone, and the judge and jury are all made up of KYC members. Each KYC member must attend 2 courts per year. The hearing and deciding on teen traffic court violation consequences are all come up with by Kirkland Youth Council members. We usually are pretty lenient and try to hear people's stories and really empathize with them to make sure they get the most fair and just consequence. Another thing we do is mini grants. There's 3 mini grants per year, and we have 8,500 to distribute each year. Each Kirkland Youth Council member must attend 1 per year. Hearing and decisions on fundings for different clubs and organizations across the greater Kirkland area are decided by Kirkland Youth Council members. This year we gave out $8,400.
This year, we also worked on developing the Kirkland Youth Bill of Rights, which is a framework for city action. It was developed by the Kirkland Youth Council during this year, and it was inspired by the King County Youth Bill of Rights, and we worked on it to tailor it to reflect the specific needs of Kirkland youth. When we were designing it, we had the goal in mind to have it help guide future city policies, program developments, and resource allocation through a youth-centered lens. The document of the Youth Bill of Rights has 9 core pillars: basic needs and well-being, health, wellness, and digital safety, equity, inclusion, and belonging, safety and security, community and youth spaces, environment and public spaces, transportation and mobility, youth voice and civic engagement, and finally, recreation and personal growth. In the document, it goes further into each of these pillars to outline what these rights really specify. And the Youth Bill of Rights helps ensure that youth perspectives are structurally recognized within city decision-making, and that it is considered in long-term planning and community investments, and that it is included in conversations surrounding safety, accessibility, and well-being of youth in Kirkland. And this initiative reflects a shift from youth simply giving feedback to youth actually helping shape community priorities going into the future.
We've Got Issues is a platform that gives our members a chance to express their concerns about important topics affecting the Kirkland community. Each year, we take those concerns and turn them into PSA-style videos. Our team is involved in every step of the process, including brainstorming, script writing, planning, acting, filming, and editing the final video segment. In previous years, We've Got Issues has focused on important topics such as drug safety and mental health, and this year we went back to the drawing board and looked closely at the opinions and concerns brought up by our board members. After discussing different issues affecting youth in Kirkland, we decided to focus on e-bike safety in partnership with Kirkland Police and a video production specialist. We began the first phase of the project by planning and writing our script. Our goal was to create a clear and meaningful safety message that would resonate with both youth and the broader community. And once our script was finalized, we moved into the production phase of our project, where we began to prepare filming and bringing the message to life and fruition.
And so when we began working on the production of the video, one of the, we're not, let's see if we can figure this out. There we go, that's where we want to be. So one of the first things we wanted to do was to really have an interview with the Kirkland Police Department officer, kind of to present the message to the youth from the police perspective, because they know best about laws governing e-bikes. So earlier this month, I sat down to interview with Officer Davidson from the Kirkland Police Department, who's a community resource officer for Juanita High School. And he kind of provided us some information to use in our video about what youth need to know about riding e-bikes, riding them safely, and about the different classifications in legal e-motorcycles. So that's going to be a really core part of our video, providing information to youth from the youth perspective. And then we're also planning to do, later this month, we're going to film some outdoor scenes, sort of filming a fake e-bike collision to get attention to youth for our video, as well as some video clips of proper e-bike usage, people staying with the flow of traffic, obeying speed limits, stopping for pedestrians, things of that nature. And then we'll wrap it up, get into video editing near the end of June and July, and we're going to hope to have a really great video that hopefully can make a difference in the e-bike issue in Kirkland, because we all know it's a big deal, and especially amongst youth. So we're hoping, one small thing we can do, get the video out there, spread it. I know it's going to be on Kirkland television, but get it as far as we can and hope we can do something to make a difference.
So the Kirkland Youth Summit is one of the council's biggest projects of the year. We hold the Kirkland Youth Summit every 2 years, and it's a congregation of 125 students from across 10 local schools from our school district. And we held this on April 3rd, 2026 at the Lake Washington Institute of Technology, who we would like to extend our gratitudes to, as well as the school district for providing transportation. So the goal of this summit is to focus on a topic that we choose each time we have it. And this year we chose our topic to be the top 10 issues that youth face. And this summit also creates a space for students to identify challenges and propose solutions to the problems they face. So our goal is to move beyond surveys and create meaningful dialogue about the issues impacting Kirkland youth from their perspective. So what makes this summit different from a survey, such as the Panorama surveys that our school district uses? Well, our summit is in person, and students will participate in meaningful dialogue with other peers in real life compared to clicking buttons on a online survey. And these conversations focus on challenges and actionable solutions, and they'll also talk to students from different schools, such as other high schools or different middle schools. And the emphasis of the summit is placed on finding practical, community-centered approaches. So some of the top concerns identified by students are mental health and academic support. So a lot of students will be taking difficult classes, such as AP classes, and it's difficult and it'll burn them out, and there's a lot of academic pressure. But because there's a limited access to meaningful support, it creates this burnout, and they also emphasized a need for more flexibility during illness and hardship. Because if a student is sick or is absent for some amount of time, it is really difficult to keep on track. A second concern that was commonly cited by students was safety and substance support. So there's a lot of vaping and drug use in school bathrooms, and there's a lot of interest in restorative and non-punitive approaches to these substances.
Right. Building on what Devin was mentioning, some of the other issues that were also brought up during the Youth Summit was AI literacy and ethics. Students expressed interest in responsible AI education and more of a unified policies regarding AI across classes. There were a lot of concerns actually regarding the inconsistent policies and academic fairness that AI accusation causes, and there is a strong desire for clear guidelines that prepare students for future careers that are involved within the AI field. Transportation and mobility was also one of the big things that were brought up by the youth and participants during the Youth Summit. There were a lot of concerns about unreliable school transportation and busing issues. There were also a lot of concerns regarding the irresponsible e-bike usage by students, and there were a lot of interest in opportunities to learn more about e-bike safe usage and how they can use it safely, responsibly, and without causing any harm to themselves or any other people around them. And through the Youth Summit, we saw that student inclusion builds trust. Students expressed a strong desire for greater transparency in decision-making, more communication between students and leadership, and also opportunities for students to contribute to policy conversations. And also because there are also already a lot of the existing opportunities, a lot of them expressed interest in more advertisement to know more about these opportunities. And overall, participants emphasized that youth want to be included in the conversations that directly affect their daily lives. And our goal with the summit is to take these conversations to action by presenting them tonight. And also, these findings will help shape the Kirkland Youth Council's 2026-2028 work plan. Our upcoming focus areas include student advocacy initiatives, e-bike safety efforts, continued youth engagement and outreach, and community-based support strategies. And we also wanted to extend special thanks to our partners who made the Youth Summit possible, the City of Kirkland and the Lake Washington Institute of Technology and the Lake Washington School District that, with all this support, made everything possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Thank you all. Congratulations to the seniors. I know this is a busy time for you, so it's exciting too. Council, any questions for the Youth Council? Councilmember Tim Chizen.
Thank you. Amazing presentation. I was wondering about your traffic court. Is that purely civil infractions, or does that cover any criminal cases as well? Very interesting. That is a great experience for you guys, and I'd be really interested in learning more about that. And that sounds really, really cool. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for a wonderful presentation. Really appreciate you all coming out tonight. Obviously, e-bike safety is something that's paramount for this group. You spent a lot of time on that subject. In this last legislative session in Olympia, the legislature passed a bill that created a study group that's looking at introducing a bill in 2027, so January 2027, that would address e-bike safety in what will hopefully be a material way. And I would just encourage the group to make sure you're engaging with our local state legislators on that legislation. And if you aren't having those conversations, you certainly should. And we can certainly help with that if desired. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Prem?
Yeah, thank you so much for that incredible presentation. I know I learned a lot, and I think this really does emphasize the real valuable perspectives you all bring to the conversation, and it's just very important for us to hear you, so keep the feedback coming. And I think you all are also just taking matters into your own hands. So having this teen traffic court, for an example, and then actually going out and educating your peers about e-bike safety. I don't know about some of the other council members, but I know that my kids would rather hear it from their own friends on safety rules than from me. So thank you for doing that. One question I had was you talked about the Youth Summit and some of the issues you identified that were important to your peers, like mental health. Top concerns was mental health. So I guess what is kind of the steps after that? So do you have like a kind of a follow-up of some kind?
Can you come to the mic, whoever wants to respond?
We're gonna, similarly to how we presented our findings tonight, we also talked about it with the superintendent of the school district, and that is gonna help us include more opportunities for students to access mental health support services in school by implementing them and having them more of a accessible service that is provided at school.
And furthermore, the summit also kind of guides our work plan for 2026 to 2028. So we hope we can also take more action in the future in those 2 years, as well as, sorry, I'm blanking what I was going to say.
Happens
I'll
to
think
us
about it.
all the time.
In the non-summit years, we have a big project that we work on. So these findings help give feedback to the Kirkland Youth Council, so we have a better idea of what to focus on when choosing our big project during the non-summit years.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone else? Well, I just want to thank you again. And to follow up on the e-bikes, I want to emphasize what Deputy Mayor said, that if you want connections to our state legislators, we can help you with that. I know last year some Lake Washington High School students came down and testified on that bill, and we had a chance to run into them when we were testifying on the bill also. So that was really valuable because your voices are incredibly important. And yesterday I spoke to quite a few fourth graders from Lakeview Elementary, and e-bike safety was one of the things that they brought up. So I hope when the video is finished that you'll distribute it to the elementary students as well, because they're interested and it's a great time to teach them the rules of the road. So Thank you all for coming. You're the highlight. Well, we've had many highlights, but you're one of the highlights of tonight. So thanks so much. All right, we are going to move. You guys can go enjoy the sun. You don't need to be politely stay. So, thank you. We are now going to move on to consent calendar. Where before we have a motion, I'd like to ask Deputy Mayor Black to present the audit of accounts and to highlight the proclamations we have on consent.
Thank you, Mayor. We had payroll in the amount of $9,238,543.60 and bills in the amount of $7,102,524.25. As part of tonight's consent calendar, the mayor, on behalf of the council, will be proclaiming June 5th as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, also known as Wear Orange Day. This observance honors Hadia Pendleton and all victims and survivors of gun violence. Through this proclamation, we reaffirm Kirkland's commitment to public safety, responsible gun ownership, secure firearm storage, and community-based gun safety efforts that help prevent tragedies and protect families, neighbors, and our broader community. The mayor, on behalf of the council, will also be proclaiming June as Ride Transit Month. This proclamation encourages community members to use transit as an affordable, healthy, and environmentally friendly way to travel around Kirkland and the region. It also highlights the city's continued work to support balanced transportation, including the Kirkland Transit Implementation Plan, the Transportation Strategic Plan, the Transit Needs Study, Metroflex service coordination in Totem Lake, and future regional transit connections through I-405 85th Street Bus Rapid Transit Station.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, second by Councilmember Prim. Is there any further discussion? Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent calendar passes 6-0. All right, we are going to move on to our business item, but since it is almost 9 o'clock, I am going to call a quick break so we can just focus on business. So we're going to be back at 9:05. So you have a few minutes. Thank you, everyone. All right, we are back from a short break. We are going to start our business agenda. Our first item on the business is a forgivable loan from the Department of Ecology for the Houghton Park and Ride Stormwater Vault. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this is a unique financing mechanism with kind of a funny name, but it's essentially a grant. We wanted to explain it to you, and we're looking for council discussion and then hopefully approval. Here to give you the briefing is our financial planning manager, Kevin Pelstring, and our surface water manager, Kelly Jones.
Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the council. I'm here to talk to you today about the Houghton Park and Ride Regional Stormwater Facility. I'll be covering the project location and the project descriptions, and then I'm going to toss it over to Kevin for all the financial pieces of it. We have 3 short slides for you today to walk you through it, and I'll get started. So this is a project located in the Everest Creek Basin, and so this is at the Houghton Park and Ride at the northwest corner of the property in that triangular grassy area. And we applied for a grant to install water quality facility there. This will be an above ground water quality facility, and it'll be treating for sediment, dissolved metals, and to reduce 6 ppd quinone, which is the tire dust particle that's killing salmon. So this project will include both the design and construction costs for that, as well as the facility will be designed to treat as much of the stormwater as possible with a minimum of 5 acres of area. And we have until June 30th, 2029 to complete the project.
Thank you, Kelly. So as Kelly said, we are going to walk through the financing. So the local funding right now is $186,000 of surface water rates that are already in the project and would be available for any grant or loan ineligible expenses. And the Department of Ecology forgivable loan that we've been awarded is about $3.7 million. So this amount would fully fund the scope and the project. So the loan is 100% forgivable with no interest if the city complies with the terms of the agreement. So in effect, it is a grant, but it is called a forgivable loan and is required to by some of the requirements as it is federal money. So thanks to our city attorney, Department of Ecology added some language to the agreement that notes that loan repayment related terms and conditions do not apply to forgivable loans because there's a list of other interest rates and things. So just making sure that that doesn't apply to forgivable loans. So it is an unusual ask tonight, but under fiscal policy, council must approve all debt. And because this has a loan in it, even though staff considers this basically a grant, we want to be out of an abundance of caution and make sure we're doing our due diligence, have council adopt a motion or pass a motion to accept this forgivable loan, this debt. So tonight we're recommending that council approve that motion, authorizing staff to accept the funding. And back to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for either Kevin or Kelly? Councilmember Arnold.
I'm not sure if this is a question for Kevin or Kelly or perhaps Darcy, but at our council retreat last Friday, we talked about requirements for federal funding that were in conflict with city values. Are there any stipulations attached to this particular funding?
Kevin Hansen helped review this, but I also looked at it, so I can assure you, we did review all of them. The first thing we did was look for some of those federal grant terms that have been flagged in a number of other grant programs. They are not included in this grant pass-through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will take a Deputy Mayor.
I was going to ask if you'd entertain a motion.
I would.
I move to authorize staff to accept the Department of Ecology's forgivable principal loan funding for the Houghton Park and Ride Stormwater Vault.
Second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, second by Councilmember Prim, to authorize staff to accept the DOE's forgivable loan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. It's a lot of improvement from Friday, right? So thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we are going to move on to 9B, which is authorization to purchase former LDS church property located at 13220 Northeast 132nd Street. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So we are looking for authorization tonight to purchase the former church site. We're going to give you an overview of the site itself and the reasons why we think it makes sense for us to purchase it, and also cover the financing proposal for the council. Happy to answer any question you have, and then we are looking for action. So to kick us off is our Facility Services Manager, Leanne Skipton, and she's being supported by the City Attorney's Office and the Finance Department in this as well.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. We're here to present to you the opportunity to purchase and acquire a property that could potentially be used as a community center in the Kingsgate neighborhood. Quick overview of the things to be covered today. We're going to talk about the property, a timeline that has led us up to this point in the process. We will turn it over to Finance to help us talk about funding options, and then the City Attorney's Office will help us talk about the purchase and sale agreement itself. And then we'll move forward with council direction and then next steps. Quick overview of the property. The parcel that we're looking at is 3.28 acres. This is a over 15,000 square foot masonry built building. It was constructed in 1989. The current zoning of the property is RMA 3.6. It is medium density residential, but there are other allowed uses of the space, including faith, community, and government facilities. The location of this property aligns with the PROS Plan equity goals. This existing building has flexible spaces, including a gymnasium and many breakout small conference rooms and classrooms, as well as a small kitchen area that are high demand recreational program areas that could be used immediately for community use for recreational programming or other parks and community services programs. There are multiple parks and community services options for how to utilize this space, and those options were presented on April 21st in the study session packet if anyone is interested in reviewing those items. If this acquisition moves forward, the PCS department will dive deeper into the options for how to utilize the space as they go forward. But there's some preliminary investigation into what could potentially be done that was included in the April 21st study session. Quick timeline of what led us up to this point. The property was listed for sale in late March at $7.3 million. In April, Council considered the potential acquisition and approved R 5731 authorizing an intent to purchase the property. The city had an independent appraisal performed on the property, and the property was valued at $11 million. A competitive bidding process involving multiple offers then proceeded, and there were several offers, a total of 10 offers, including the city, that were presented for this property. Those offers were also inclusive of some residential developers who were also bidding on the same property. The city's letter of intent to purchase the property at $10 million was accepted by the seller, and the seller submitted their draft of a purchase and sale agreement. That draft has been reviewed by the City Attorney's Office, and they will be presenting their revisions of the draft in just a moment. So the point that we are currently at is the opportunity for council to consider that purchase and sale agreement to move forward with this acquisition. And I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Pelstreen to talk about funding.
Hello again, Madam Mayor, members of council. So we discussed the funding strategy at the council retreat on Friday, but to kind of recap for those of us who are not there in the audience. So this is laying out the long-term, basically the final recommended funding strategy for the property. It also lays out some of the other potential parks capital projects that we've been discussing in recent months in the last year, and different priorities and how we're recommending to go ahead and fund them going forward. So under this proposed approach, we would be utilizing the $15 million bond issuance that is in the 25-26 budget. Previously, that $15 million bond issuance was planned to pay back the Houghton Village interfund loan, but given that council has now authorized staff to move forward with exploring the sale of that property. We're anticipating, and built into this model here, this approach, that conservatively we would receive $10 million for Houghton Village and need to use $5 million of that $15 million bond issuance to finish paying back the Houghton Village interfund loan. We're hoping that that comes in higher and we can reprioritize that $5 million, but that's the conservative approach at this point. So for the church property itself, $7.3 million would be funded out of that debt, out of that bond issuance. Another $1.8 million would come from the impact fee balance in the neighborhood parkland acquisition project. And then $1 million would come from the reprioritized street preservation project, STC 111, which we talked a little bit more about. So that's the strategy for the long term. The purchase price, as Leanne I think mentioned, agreed verbal agreement is $10 million. We're anticipating closing costs of about $40,000, and we've left in about $60,000 of contingency for the initial purchase. So this, just a reminder, this doesn't include any of the other further improvements or renovations. This is just the funding the actual purchase of it. So I will pass it back to Kevin Hansen to talk through kind of council action and next steps. But in the fiscal note and in the resolution tonight, it is discussing the short-term options, which is describing an interfund loan. The anticipation is that would be very short-term, just a few months until we are able to go out and actually issue those $15 million of bonds. Any questions before I pass it back?
Any questions for Kevin? No?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. I'm here to talk about the purchase and sale agreement. Obviously, you know the price. The agreement contemplates or provides a 60-day feasibility period beginning after the agreement signed, and the closing would occur 30 days after the close of the feasibility time. The council resolution would authorize the city manager to execute the purchase and sale agreement in a form substantially similar to what you have as Exhibit A. There are a couple of revisions that are not in Exhibit A, and we're still working with the seller on those. We have provided those to the seller and have spoken with the seller's broker, and we do not anticipate there being a problem with these revisions. But Section 1710 has a confidentiality provision, basically saying we can't publicize the purchase of the property. Obviously, that would be a problem for us for a number of reasons. So we've added an exception to that, basically saying we can inform residents of the acquisition and tell them about that. And then also, obviously, to comply with the Public Records Act and the Open Public Meetings Act, which is kind of what we're doing tonight. And then the second revision that we've proposed, is basically a condition of our executing the agreement, would be Exhibit 15.2 has a number of use restrictions for the future. Most of those are fine, having to do with the illegal activity on the property, but one of them prohibits consumption of alcohol, and then a second would be using the facility as a place of public entertainment or amusement. We've revised, our proposed revision would allow alcohol consumption that complies with Chapter 1180 of the code, the Parks Code, and it would also delete the restriction on using the property as a place of public entertainment or amusement. And our code defines public amusement places as educational opportunities, dances, and things like that. So those would be, having those revisions would be a condition for us to sign the agreement.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hold on, yeah. Councilmember Prim?
Just one question. As part of the 60-day due diligence period, would we also be confirming the asbestos assessment? Like, would that be part of that?
We would be able to do a phase 1 environmental review. We couldn't do any kind of phase 2, no kind of invasive testing, but we would be able to do an assessment that would involve that.
Okay, so it would be part of that 60 days. So let's say we hypothetically found asbestos through our assessment. Would we be able to back out at that point?
Oh, I think Leanne's going to correct my statement.
No, I'm not going to correct. I'm going to make 2 points. The first one is the construction date of the building is 1989, so asbestos restrictions were already in place in the building code at that time. So there's very minimal risk associated with that with this particular building. We will also be performing a building condition assessment as a part of the 60-day period, and so that will be a secondary opportunity for us to investigate for those items. If it is found in that process, then we can address it at that time, but it is not anticipated based on the building code at the time the building was constructed.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Did I miss a page? Okay. So we're asking the council to approve the proposed resolution with amendments authorizing the city manager to execute the purchase and sale agreement with the revisions that we discussed. And then,
Mr. Hanson, would you adjust your microphone so we can hear you clear? Thank you.
Leanne moved it.
shall I repeat myself? Okay. So staff recommends that the council approve a resolution R5735 with the amendments authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of the former church property for $10 million. Also authorizing the finance and administration director to advance the necessary funds from the 119 fund, is that correct? As part of a short-term interfund loan. Secondly, staff recommends that the council approve the fiscal note authorizing the use of short-term funding and authorizing the final funding strategy for the acquisition.
City manager, you look like you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, we do have 2 proposed amendments the council wants to consider, and I just want to emphasize again for the record that if we don't get the changes to the use restrictions, we won't be signing the purchase and sale agreement, but we have assurance from the other side that we will get those. So I'll report back on that as soon as we do have them.
Okay. Council, before I ask for a motion on the resolution, are there any further questions? Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, one quick question. City manager, I'm not sure if, I don't think you answered this question. I just want to double check. So with the adoption of tonight's resolution, we're authorizing you to sign a purchase and sale agreement in substantially the form as presented to both us and the public. We feel confident it's going to include the amendments that the deputy city attorney presented, but that you just said it's not necessarily assured yet.
No, if it doesn't happen, we won't sign it. So we are very confident that we'll get those changes, which is why we wouldn't need to bring it back because it says substantially similar. So if we get the language we're expecting, we'll just plug it in and then sign it.
What will come back to us? The resolution?
No.
No.
So with the authorization to be substantially similar, as soon as we get that language, we'll just go ahead and sign it, assuming that that's substantially similar. But if we don't get it, we won't sign it.
I know this is a technical matter, but the resolution we're adopting tonight does not include that condition. So I'm just wondering if we need a city attorney's suggested amendment to make it clear what we're approving tonight.
We certainly could gives you some language to make sure that it's included in there. Staff's intention is that we won't execute if it doesn't include that, and we'd report back to council that those negotiations had failed, but we're confident that the seller will agree with those. So we felt like the resolution was acceptable as is. You are making other amendments, though, so we could certainly add some language. I can come up with something right now if you'd like while you talk through the others.
I don't want to complicate things. I just want to be crystal clear what we're formally legally approving, because what we're formally legally approving is in the substantial form of, even though our intent is that the city won't sign it if it doesn't come back with those changes. So I guess I'm looking at my colleagues saying I'm of 2 minds. I don't want to overly complicate this, but I also want to be clear to ourselves and the public what we're approving. We're not necessarily approving it with an absolute condition that those 2 changes are made.
If it will make you more comfortable and the city attorney can draft something.
How quickly can you craft something.
I will have it done before you get through these other two amendments.
That's perfect. Okay.
right.
Well, since I have the floor, do you want me to go ahead and address the resolution that's been brought up on the screen?
Let's make sure, is there any further questions? Go ahead.
Okay. So I shared this proposed resolution with colleagues earlier today.
Deputy Mayor, will you move the motion first?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely. I'd like to move to amend Resolution R 5735.
Can't amend it until you
We
move.
have to move the resolution itself. We have not moved the main
Oh,
resolution.
sorry, you're right. I can do that. I was wondering what you guys were talking about. I move Resolution R 5735. I won't read the title.
Second.
All right. It's clear Councilmember Falcone's not here tonight. His seconds are very slow. Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Arnold to move Resolution 5735. Is there any discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Sorry about that. So I did circulate a proposed amendment to colleagues earlier today with assistance from the staff. I had this prepared. It just identifies what could almost be a scrivener's error, but is too important not to get correct. So there is a current reference on line 70 of the resolution referencing the 421 fund. That's just simply an incorrect reference, and it should be the 119 fund, as discussed by the Deputy City Attorney tonight, and also in the fiscal note, and also in the memo. So the only place this appears as an error is in the resolution itself. So with that introduction, I'll move to amend our resolution R 5735 at page 152 in section 5 on line 70 by striking the, quote, the 421 fund and inserting in its place, quote, the 119 fund.
Second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, second by Councilmember Prim to amend the resolution 5735 to correct, replace 421 fund with 119 fund. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment carries 6-0. All right, our second amendment is Councilmember Tim Chisholm's amendment. Councilmember Tim Chisholm?
Thank you. I think it's the intention of this council that this purchase be used for park purposes. I think this amendment helps clarify our intention. And our Peter Kirk Pool and our community centers are all zoned as parks currently. And there's also the money that's being used for this facility is being diverted from other projects which I think have merit. The enclosure of the Peter Kirk Pool we're diverting funds from, and the Kamayakan Gym expansion we're diverting funds from. And both of those were recreation focused. The current zoning of this parcel is RMA 3.6. It's zoned for low density residential. And because we're getting these funds from the Peter Kirk Pool renovation, the Kamayakan Gym expansion, park impact fees, I think it's appropriate that we clarify that this property will be zoned as a park. Thank you.
So that was your motion.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Tim Chisholm, second by Councilmember Pascal to revise Resolution 5735 to designate the zoning of the property as a park. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Arnold.
Thank you. Question for staff. Given zoning of the property of park, and given that for this particular property, we're not maybe in the position to make full use of the property immediately upon acquisition, what kind of flexibility under that zoning would we have of what we could do with the building?
Yeah. So we had a discussion with the city attorney and the planning and building director, so they can enjoy it. The basically what you can do under that park zoning is what we do at any of our other community centers. So you can use nonprofit use, for example, or looking at, for example, K-Tub, where we have YES, and for tomorrow providing services on site. Or, for example, at the Juanita Beach Park where we have the Forbes House, which is used by YES. So we can do those kinds of actions as well on the site, as well as anything related to recreation and parks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Prim.
So just to confirm, are our other community centers zoned as park?
That's correct.
They all are. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Pascal.
Yeah, just to kind of expand on the questions. We all have questions. I guess, would this be considered more kind of standard operating procedure that, once it became owned by the city, we would modify it to parkland, just like we did the Houghton Park and Ride,
Yeah, I would say it's not required, but it has been done. So, for example, the underlying zoning that you have today, you can have government facilities operating on it. So you don't need to change the zoning to have a park facility. Changing the zoning to park, I think, puts there on the map in the green that it's park. We have done that in the past, we don't have to. So I think this would be a helpful clarification to say, proceed with it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, the question is on the motion for the Tim Chizen amendment to designate the zoning as a park. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, now we have a new amendment from the city attorney a la deputy mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, City Attorney, for your quick drafting skills. So along the lines of what we already discussed, I would move to amend Resolution R5735 at page 152, line 54, to insert after purposes, and just in parenthetically here, that is the last sentence of, that's the last sentence, last word of section 1, just to direct your attention. Replace, or following that, add the following phrase, comma, provided it is modified to revise the use restrictions related to entertainment, amusement, and alcohol, and to address the press release provision.
Second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Prim, to make the revision outlined by Deputy Mayor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment passes 6-0. All right, the question is on the amended motion, R5735. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
This discussion.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember Tim Chizen.
This is the,
Amended resolution.
we're voting on the whole resolution now. Okay. My main concern with this was that we were redirecting funds from the Peter Kirk pool. But I think this resolution and this property acquisition actually brings Kirkland closer to having a pool. And so we've all shed blood, sweat, and tears in trying to bring this city a pool. And this land, this property has enough land for that pool to be realized. And I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Deputy Mayor?
Well, thank you, and thank you for that, Councilmember Tim Chizen. I think that's a good point. And in light of that, for the public who's listening, they may have a question about the use restrictions that remain. And I just want to be clear. And so, Leanne, I'll ask you if you need help from the Deputy City Attorney. That's great. But the use restrictions that everyone is talking about here, they expire with the demolition of the building. Is that true?
That is accurate.
Okay.
Or even if it's not demolished after 50 years.
Right. So if the city decided along the lines of what's been described here in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years to convert the space from a community center to a pool, or a community center and a pool, once that demolition occurred, the use restrictions that we've all been talking about would no longer apply.
That's accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, the question is on Resolution 5735 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone.
And I'm just going to have one last final slide here. Thank you so much, everyone, for council members for the approval of that resolution. So just to clarify next steps, we will, once the purchase and sale agreement is finalized and signed, that will begin the 60-day feasibility due diligence period. We expect that would be completed sometime around August, and then closing would be 30 days after that. We anticipate that would be sometime around September. Parks and Community Services will begin working on their strategic options for activating the space, and will be coming back to council to present their recommendations to council for how to utilize the space. And then staff will also begin working on preparing the bond ordinance for council consideration for the funding strategy.
Thank you. And I just remembered we need a motion to approve the fiscal note for the property acquisition.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, second by Councilmember Arnold to move forward the fiscal note. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Now I can say thank you. Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to move on to item 9C, which is the Houghton Village Property Declaration of Surplus. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So earlier this year, the council passed a resolution indicating the intent to sell the Houghton Village property, and in that directed the city manager to take any administrative steps necessary to sell the property. One of those administrative steps is for the city to surplus the property, and so that's the purpose of the conversation tonight. This doesn't happen to happen right now, but we thought it sends a very important message to the community about that the city is serious about selling it, and so our recommendation would be to pass it tonight. Here to give you an overview of this resolution is our Facilities Services Manager, Leanne Skipton, once again.
Poor Leanne, I keep trying to excuse you. Welcome back.
I'm just going to hang out. So yes, tonight we'll be presenting the option to surplus the Houghton Village property. And with me tonight is also Assistant City Attorney Ryan Gilbrotz. Just a quick overview of the Houghton Village property. The city acquired this in 2022. The property overview is 2.19 acres. There are two separate buildings on the existing property, totaling 29,000 square feet. This is a 1958 masonry constructed building. Current zoning is HENC1, which has a lengthy list of possible options and uses for this space. The city purchased it in May of 2022 with a 3-year interfund loan for $14.2 million. Leading up to this surplus of this property, in December, council adopted the Houghton Village Development Plan. And then council also adopted a resolution directing the city to sell the property. In February, council gave approval of resolution to direct this city to solicit brokers for the sale of the property. The solicitation request for proposals or request for qualifications went out in April, and that is currently under review. We're very close to making a final selection in that process. And so now we are here to present Resolution 5736, which would be the council surplus of the property. And now I'll hand it over to Ryan to talk through the details of the resolution.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. For your consideration tonight is the next step along the timeline that Leanne just laid out. Resolution R5736, declaring the Houghton Village property to be surplus to the city's needs and reauthorizing the city manager to solicit potential buyers. Tonight's resolution builds off of the council's February 3rd resolution 5719. It acknowledges the city's goals in acquiring the property and efforts to pursue partnership opportunities to develop the site for affordable housing, as well as acknowledging the changes in the market conditions that has led to the necessary sale. While the February's resolution authorized the city manager to begin efforts to sell the property, it explicitly did not declare the property as surplus, a necessary step for the city to be able to sell it. So today's resolution publicly identifies Houghton Village as surplus and reauthorizes the city manager and our designated broker to begin marketing the property, soliciting buyers. And as laid out in the process by all of the resolutions, including the one tonight, Once that process yields viable offers, these will be presented to council for consideration and any final approval as outlined in this process and as required by law. Thank you.
Any questions, council? All right, I will take a motion. Deputy Mayor.
I guess I'm the mover today, so I'll move adoption of Resolution R 5736, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Kirkland declaring the Houghton Village property at its address to be surplus to the needs of the city and reauthorizing the city manager to solicit potential buyers.
Second.
I was going to say the notes are all going to say Deputy Mayor Prum, but yeah. Okay, thank you. It has been moved by Deputy Mayor Black, seconded by Councilmember Pascal to move forward Resolution 5736. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's Ryan's first time at council. He's our newest attorney in the city attorney's office. So I just wanted to thank council for our other FTE.
All right, we are now going to move on to item 9D, which is discussion of a grant award from the Transportation Improvement Board and a discussion on the joint project for a Central Way bike lane improvement. City Manager.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So this project came to you back in 2025, and the council was interested, but said they wanted to make sure that we could go back and see if we could get in a grant before we'd come back for further discussion. Our amazing staff at Public Works was successful at actually getting a grant. So we're now coming back to say to the council, is this a project that you do want to proceed with? It's a great project, but it is also a project that costs quite a bit of money. We wanted to walk the council through the potential project itself, get your direction, and then lay out how we might potentially fund the project. And if the council gives us the direction, we'll come back for final action. So there's no action tonight, but we are looking for direction. So I guess it's Jessica Clem is going to be making the presentation from Public Works. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the council. We are here tonight to present an update on the Central Way bike lane improvements regarding the TIB award and a joint project discussion with Parks. We have 9 slides for you. We'll give a brief background on the project, details around the Transportation Improvement Board grant. We have alternative scope options for review, as well as funding options, and ultimately looking for council direction on next steps. In June of 2025, we presented a range of options for delivering the Central Way bike path alongside the Peter Kirk Park improvements as a coordinated joint project. The feedback that we received at that meeting, there was general support for Alternative 2. I will go into the details of all the alternatives in the upcoming slides. This is, as Kurt mentioned, an unfunded project with no funding source identified outside of the grant. At the time, we were instructed to pursue grant funding and return to council if we were successful. We applied for a TIB Complete Streets grant in August, and then added the transportation project to the unfunded list in the CIP update last year. And in November, we did receive notice from TIB that we were in receipt of a grant award. The award amount is for $1.5 million. We also based our application on Alternative 2. We did reach out to TIB for some initial feedback on if we were to go with a different alternative. And what they said is sidewalk width does not constitute a scope change. It's considered more of a design detail and would not require board approval. So while we would need to coordinate closely with them and get any alternative changes approved, it doesn't appear that there would be any impacts to the grant with our initial review. The 4 alternatives that were reviewed back in June of 2025, first of all, no joint project. This would be not moving forward with the transportation project or the grant award. The Parks project would remain in the CIP as programmed. Alternative 1 involves using the on-street parking for the expanded pathway. What we heard is given council's strong desire to retain on-street parking, we have removed this option from the discussion tonight. We would like to focus on alternative 2, which is a raised bike lane on an expanded path, and alternative 3, which is also a raised bike lane without expanding the path. All right, so there's quite a bit of common scope between the two alternatives, so I'll give a high-level overview of that on this slide. For parks components, removing and mitigating the aging trees. The trees have been cut down, but the stumps do remain in place. Replacing the underdrain system beneath the ball field. Improving maintenance, access, and parking, and then replacing the park's fence and ball field netting. For transportation improvements, we will be expanding the existing sidewalk, constructing a retaining wall and doing slope stabilization, new pedestrian railing and upgraded lighting, replacing utilities, drainage, curb and gutter, and adding landscaping. For the differences between the two scopes, alternative 2 on the left, the primary difference for the park's considerations is that this option does encroach on the field and would require a slight shift in the fence. What we did add to this option is a design option for adding terrace-style seating. This would be in the northeastern corner of the park. We thought this would provide a more thoughtful transition from the sidewalk and bike improvements into the park. The main difference for the transportation components is that this option provides a 6-foot bike lane and an 8-foot sidewalk. The total budget for this alternative is $3.98 million, with park share at $1.1 million and transportation at $2.9 million. For alternative 3, there is no impact to the field or the fence location. However, we would be working within the existing footprint, which would limit the bike lane and the sidewalk to 5 feet each. The budget very similar, $3.88 million, with park share at $1.3 million and transportation at $2.6 million. Staff does recommend alternative 2 as it provides a more comfortable, functional, and future-oriented facility compared to alternative 3. The expanded path creates greater separation between pedestrians and cyclists, and overall improves safety, accessibility, and the user experience. I will note that both alternatives do preserve the existing curb line on Central Way and maintain on-street parking.
Jessica, let's pause for a second. Councilmember Prim?
Super quick question. The shift of the fence, like how much are we talking? Like 2 inches, 6 inches? And would it impact like the field size at all?
It moved about 3.7 feet at the most north, the southwest corner to 0. So basically, it's just one corner of the fence will be shifted. So, and then the largest section that will be shifted is 3.7 feet.
Okay, so there's really no major impact to the size of the field, correct?
Nothing, yeah.
Okay.
It's very minimal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Councilmember Prim asked my question.
All right. Councilmember Pascal?
Yeah, thanks. My question is a little bit on the kind of the overall magnitude of the costs. You know, kind of looking at the project, the transportation part of the project a little bit more. We're essentially adding about a 750-foot bike lane, and then expanding the sidewalk by another 3 feet in alternative 2. And that's, it doesn't sound like we're having to do any stormwater or storm drainage work or anything like that. So that bike lane that's 750 feet long is costing upwards of nearly $3 million. So the question is like, what options are there to, I mean, it just seems, it just feels like a really expensive bike lane. And I just would like to encourage staff to really find ways to limit costs as much as possible. I did some quick calculations. That's like $300 a square foot of basically concrete and asphalt. It's a very just like a per unit cost. It's a really, really expensive project. I'm trying to understand why.
It's a great question, and it's understandable that the calculation that that you're looking at is based on the expansion of the sidewalk. But keep in mind, we also need to build in the slope to fill the area. If you look at the current topography, there are areas where you need to fill in and building using the a retaining wall to build that expanded sidewalk. In addition, the 2.88 million include replacing the fencing and the netting. The reason of that is that particular component was supposed to be part of belong to the parks improvement. However, because of alternative 2, it actually encroaching the fence, and so in that case, transportation pick up that bill. Transportation will be replacing that fence and the netting for the parks. So part of your calculation will be also including the replacement of the netting and the fence. In addition, because now that we're providing this as an expanded sidewalk and also for the bike lane, there are added illumination for the street lighting and the pedestrian lighting. And we're also enhancing the landscape because we're trying with the removal of those existing trees. This is opportunity for us to add in the street tree that is more suitable for the urban setting, and so we're also putting the facility we call the soil cell that is actually more. It's better for it's suiting. It's more suitable to build to plant the urban tree that will prevent the future where there will be uplifting to the sidewalk. So it's better for the long-term usage. So there are several other different improvement that we built into this project, and that's the reason why you see the cost the way it is.
Yeah, thank you for that more detailed explanation. Yeah, definitely there's a little bit more complexities rather than just laying down a new bike lane. No, I definitely like alternative 2. It's just trying to build something like that, and trying to shave costs where we can, is so that we can use that money for other things, and really kind of take most advantage of the TIB grant, right, and not have to continue to find, local dollars to match against that. So I think that's the only comment I'd like to make is just as we can look for ways to kind of keep costs down. Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, go ahead.
We do have several funding options for council consideration. The table on the left does go over both the park share and the transportation share for alternatives 2 and 3. The funding sources that we are proposing tonight, the first one would be the Transportation Benefit District contingency. The current contingency is at about $4.2 million, and if we use that for this purpose, we'd have about $2.8 million remaining. I will note that at the beginning of the TBD program in 2023, $2.8 million is the starting contingency, and we have built it up due to project closeouts and transfers. This would be the recommended use for the transportation match for the grant. Staff would also like to return for a broader TBD discussion at an upcoming meeting. Given that we're about halfway through the TBD and we've made our way through about half of the scopes, there are a handful that are no longer feasible, have been completed with other projects, or no longer needed. So we'd like to do a little bit of a reconciliation, which we feel would then be used to replenish the reserves even further, or council could elect to bring over additional scopes from the Safe Routes to School or Active Transportation Plan. We also would like to propose repurposing funding from existing projects. With council's approval of the church property acquisition, most of the funding identified for the preservation project is now spoken for. However, there should be about 300,000 remaining in that project that we could repurpose for this use. Further, there are some other projects noted here. When we were researching possible sources for the church purchase, these were identified as projects that we could postpone and use the REIT funding if this was a priority that the council wanted to move forward. Lastly, REIT reserves, as staff mentioned in the memo, we do not recommend using reserves at this time due to the numerous identified needs and uncertain economic conditions, but we can certainly look into the balances and return with more options should council like that.
Jessica, Deputy Mayor, or Councilmember Arnold has a question.
For in the previous slide, for the two CIP projects that you're recommending be delayed, I don't remember those particular projects being in the memo. Can you talk through what the two projects are that would be delayed and when they would be delayed to?
Yes, I actually have slides. So this is, this was originally part of the main Juanita Drive project, and we broke it off into its own scope. This project has had some delays due to right-of-way issues. Also, it does have a funding need. This one is REIT funded, so there really, it's an available option should we delay it. The cons would be that construction costs do increase every year. However, we do know that there could possibly be construction fatigue on Juanita Drive, and this could be a good reprieve if we push this out. And for the other project, oops, I'm sorry. Get it to click. Okay, we can't get to that slide. So this is the northeast dual left turn lanes, which is at the east side of the city. This project is also at a standstill currently. There's several issues with right-of-way with Redmond. Also, this project was scoped prior to COVID, so it's not certain that the project still supports having two left-hand turn lanes here. Staff is going to do a revised study to see if the dual turn lanes are actually still needed. So there's a fair, thank you, Anas. So there is a fair amount of funding in this project while we evaluate the need that we could borrow while we determine next steps for this project.
Anyone else? Councilmember Prim?
Regarding the contingency funds and the remaining projects that are left to be funded, where the contingency funds may be used for, do you think the risk is pretty low that we would need those contingency funds? And and I guess will we have a pretty close eye on those projects to confirm that they actually don't go over budget, where we would need those contingency funds later on?
We do track all of the TBD projects very closely. They do all have built-in contingency outside of this contingency bucket. As mentioned, I think we've completed 24 of 54 scopes. We have begun setup of the remaining scopes. What we'd like to bring to you in the future meeting is the repurposing and closure of those scopes that are no longer needed would offset a couple projects that we're anticipating a shortfall.
Do you think generally it's low risk, though, that we would run out of contingency funds if we use this amount?
We do.
Okay.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Once again, Councilmember Prim asked sort of my question. I just springing off that for just a second, just want to ask a really targeted question. From our Safer Routes to School Action Plan and the projects that we identified, the high priority projects that we identified, whatever, 2 or 3 years ago, when we adopted or put the TBD in action, are we currently predicting that by just making this decision tonight on on Central Way that is there any reason to believe we're going to be precluding any projects from that high priority list that we still, at least today, deem to be feasible and whatever the right adjective is?
Other than the ones that we have deemed have been completed as other projects or no longer feasible, no, there are no others. We would move forward with completing the remaining projects.
Okay. So by making this decision, giving this direction tonight, we're not precluding any projects that we still, okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Jessica.
So we are seeking council direction on whether to move the Central Way Bike Lane Improvements Project to the funded list, council's preferred design alternative, whether we should proceed with accepting the grant award, and then the preferred funding sources, the TBD contingency for the transportation project, and then approving reprogramming REIT 1 and 2 from existing projects to fund the shortfall in the parks project. Pending council direction, we'll return at an upcoming meeting to address any needed updates to the CIP and provide a fiscal note for approval. And with that, I will turn it back to council for discussion and any questions that we can answer.
Thank you. Council, they are now looking for response to staff recommendations. Councilor Arnold.
Are you looking for a motion?
No, we hadn't originally thought that, but now that I see this list, this way it might be simple just to have some verbal motions for each of the bullet points as to what the council
Or a
direction is.
grand sweep of motion.
Or if, yes, if, like, all, yeah. Someone wants to take a shot
Good
at all
choice.
at one time.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I move that council direct staff to do the 5 things on the screen.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Arnold, second by Councilmember Prim to move forward with the staff recommendations. Is there any discussion?
I just clarify that, so everyone knows that the preferred design is alternative 2. So since it doesn't have that on there, that's what we're recommending.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, we are now to our final business item, which is the review update to the park rules. City Manager.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. So as the team comes forward, Lynn Zwagstra, our Parks and Community Services Director, and our Management Analyst, Juliana DeCruz, I just wanted to give a highlight of this. This was originally supposed to be an extended study session, so we are violating our 10 slides, 10 minutes just slightly on this one. We're going to be providing council with an overview of the park rule changes. We're not looking for action tonight, just final direction, and then we'll come back for adoption at a future meeting. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lynn to start us off, and she can steer from there.
Well, great. Hello, Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council. Thank you, City Manager Triplett, for that introduction. I appreciate that. Tonight with me, I have Juliana DeCruz, the city's senior management analyst, as well as Jason Filan, our park superintendent. They will be presenting the brunt of the information today. I'll just be providing the introduction. Next. So we have a robust code update that actually has some pretty complex changes in it. We do have 17 slides, and we will try to be relatively brief. This is the first discussion of at least 2 sessions, and that is somewhat dependent on the amount of the codes that you'd like to go into a little bit more depth, or feedback that you have, or questions that you have. We'll be explaining why we're updating the code and talk a little bit about the goals of updating the code. We also picked kind of what we thought would be the top 5 changed codes that we thought you'd be interested in. So we'll cover those. And also, we're hoping to hear council feedback, questions, and would really like to hear if there are any other codes that you'd like us to discuss in more detail on an upcoming session. So then the question is, well, why are we updating the park codes? Well, it is a little outdated. It hasn't been updated since 2011.
The department is experiencing heavy and increasing use of the parks with population growth and multifamily housing. So people no longer have their own yards. The parks are people's backyard, and this creates more user conflict. We are facing increasing challenges with problem behavior in the parks. And the parks staff have a very limited ability to enforce code, and PD has a somewhat limited capacity to enforce code in the parks for non-emergent code issues. Therefore, a major goal of this update is to provide different tools that we can call upon depending upon the situation, but in particular to address some of the lower level infractions in the parks. So on that note, just a little bit about the ranger program. As mentioned, park staff have a somewhat limited capacity to enforce code that's very much restricted to off-leash dogs as well as moorage. Our focus with the rangers is customer service, education, and assistance in general. Be surprised at how many calls for assistance there are for people locked out of their car or whatever the case may be. We do a lot of advising on, where to go for restaurants and all those kinds of things. We have a full-time park ranger. That position actually has been vacant quite a bit over the last 2 years, but our new full-time ranger starts on June 16th. We supplement that in the summer season with seasonal rangers, and they focus on the waterfront parks. And the reason they focus on waterfront parks, obviously, is they're very busy parks, but because that position was morphed from our previous harbor master position, which is a position that very specifically worked at the marina. The rangers do a lot with movable signage. So you can see the A-board sign. Wherever we're having hot spots, we try to have a bit of a presence with the rangers where they can educate, talk to people about some problem behaviors, ask them for some voluntary compliance, try and get the word out with those A-boards. So that's a huge focus, and this code is not going to change that focus. It does give some additional tools, but we really see the ranger role as still very much focused on customer service and education. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to Juliana, and she's going to talk about the code changes and how this will all work.
Thank you, Lynn. So first we'll start with the 5 sections of code that we think are most relevant, and then we'll transition to talk more about some of the enforcement processes. So the first section is smoking in parks prohibited, and this is a new proposed section of Parks Code. It's not currently in the existing chapter, and it would prohibit smoking, vaping, and tobacco use in parks. I want to note that currently there is an administrative rule that prohibits smoking within 25 feet of structures and playgrounds. And at the time of the development of that administrative rule, it did cause some community controversy. So for that reason, we wanted to bring this forward and flag it for council. We did flag this particular section in code for the park board, and they were not particularly concerned about this change at this time. And I'll mention that I'll move through these slides unless you'd like me to stop.
I see no hand raised. Go ahead.
The next new section is in regarding to interfering with lifeguard duties. And this is a new section of the Parks Code that emerged from the encounters that our lifeguards are having at waterfront parks. So the majority of our lifeguards are seasonal high school students, and they are tasked with the challenging job of maintaining order and safety at our parks. And there are times where older patrons or intoxicated patrons or even their peers make it really challenging for them to do their jobs. And so this section of code emerged from that. It also is a component of code that exists in other cities, in particular in Redmond. And we feel that it will be very important to help maintain safety at waterfront parks. And I should mention that at moments, Jason is going to provide some color commentary on how we see some of these changes interfacing in the parks, and now is one such time.
And that is only if you want the color commentary. I'm here for any kind of questions or field stuff. But it is a real challenge for the guards. And so to keep that swim area safe and available, it's really can be significant. And so to have them have the ability to phone the ranger, which we do right now, but sometimes in that conversation kind of escalates and we have to end up calling police. So part of the goal of this is to try to create a situation where the ranger has a little bit more tools in their belt to help so we're not having to call the police. But yeah.
I see no questions. I am a parent of a former beach guard, so yeah.
The next section is motor vehicle section. This is new language, but we want to note that it's largely adapted from existing language. It was previously entitled Riding Vehicles and Animals. We thought it would be most helpful to separate vehicles and animals in the code, but much of the provisions remain the same, including the speed limits, prohibiting overnight parking, establishing that motor vehicles for mobility purposes, such as a motorized wheelchair, are permissible in parks, and also clarifying that you cannot wash vehicles in parks. We do have one more slide clarifying how e-bikes interface with motor vehicles, but I can also pause here if there's questions.
Any questions on this one? All right, I think this is the one we want to see.
Okay, great. So to further clarify, there's two sections of the parks rules that would pertain to e-bikes. The first is this motor vehicle section. So the language does specifically clarify that e-bikes are permitted under parks pathways or trails under manual power only. So it would prohibit use of e-bikes with their motorized feature. And that they are allowed only on paths and trails. So it is not acceptable to use your e-bike, whether on manual power or motorized power, through grassy fields or other unsuitable surfaces. The other section that is relevant to e-bikes is the section on trail use. I do want to note that this pertains to trail use within parks, so it does not govern the CKC. There's a separate code that speaks to that, but this language on trail use in the Parks Code largely mirrors the language as it pertains to the CKC. And so similarly, regardless of your device for travel, the speed limit is 15 miles an hour where not posted, or the speed limit as posted if lower.
Okay, comments, questions? Councilmember Pascal?
I was just, could, on that third bullet down, e-bikes are permitted on pathways or trails under manual power. Could if we have a speed limit, could you kind of talk about what then the intention would be around the manual versus non-manual? Because isn't it just a speed issue, or is it something else?
Well, if they are on pedal, then we're okay with it, right? But when they move to power, then it becomes a lot more challenging in terms of just their speed. So I guess someone could be exceeding the 15 mile an hour on a pedal, but that really hasn't been the case. It's usually pretty low key at that point. So we are, just in full disclosure, we are fielding like a tremendous amount of feedback via calls, emails, our Kirklands, and the rangers are spending a significant amount of time moving A-boards around. Sometimes A-boards end up in the lake or places unknown to us or used as jumps or whatever. I mean, it is a thing. There is an investment of taxpayer dollars where our rangers are out there talking to folks, trying to talk to the kids, pleading with them, hey, can you please be respectful when you come to the park, keep it low key. But there is a welling up of some frustration from the community for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely understand that. It's just more about how, it sounds like it's a speed issue is the issue, people going fast.
Yeah, it's a speed, and there's some
being dangerous.
Small percentage of where it's pretty disrespectful at times, where even cases of young people taking people's things and saying, hey, if you want it back, give me $20 or $50, or squirting them with stuff and then zipping off. It's a real challenge right now.
I might add that on some surfaces, the e-bikes are heavier, and so they can damage certain pathways and trails. And so that might be a reason that you would prohibit a device as opposed to just focusing on the speed limit.
We actually had, last year we painted except for 2 courts. Every single court had burnout marks on it. Even like this last couple of weeks, people were trying to get into new fields at Taylor where they had done some synthetic, trying to get in there to do stuff. And so, like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing at some point it's going to come.
My questions are not directed at whether it's a thing or not.
Okay.
It's more about the language.
Okay.
I completely believe you about that, and I have witnessed it too. I'm trying to wrap my brain around the fact that someone who has an e-bike that is conscientious and uses it, they have to use manual power. How would you even enforce it? It's the speed issue. It's people acting recklessly. It's people not obeying rules. It's not really whether or not it's a manual. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense. I don't really understand that bullet, that language, not the issue, the language.
So would you like to see some options, maybe for alternatives to that language, since we're not acting tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that still gets at the root of the issue that we're trying to solve. There's a lot of people with e-bikes that I think are really good, conscientious owners that, shouldn't just be disallowed from using them. But that's just my own opinion.
Councilmember Pascal, you're hitting on one that is, in fact, somewhat controversial, is do we, ban electric power only and require the pedal power? So that is something that is somewhat controversial, and you just got a Q alert on that today, where someone said, please don't do that, because there are people who do need that assist. One of the reasons why we might like to require pedal power is it's a whole lot easier to do burnouts and do damage when you have power assist than when you're just doing manual pedaling. Having said that, it still is an issue with the behavior, not necessarily the speed. So we can definitely see if there's a better way to write that.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to see different options. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Tim Chison?
So these are civil infractions that you would issue? What's the amount of the civil infraction generally?
I'll have to double check.
Would that be handled by our court?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are these all the same amount, or are they differing amounts?
They are the same for civil infractions, yes.
Okay. And a park ranger would give them?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have some feedback on this. One of the things is, and granted, our park users are not going to read this and go, oh, I can't ride on a trail. But we call this section motor vehicles, and I immediately think of cars. So I think we need a different descriptor on this section. And I think we need to talk about e-bikes and e-motorcycles and be really clear, because as we know, people are buying e-motorcycles and calling them e-bikes. So that needs to be differentiated. And again, motor vehicles, are we talking about assisted wheelchairs or scooters? I think there needs to be more context to this. We also talk about trail use, and we talk about path and trails, but we really mean sidewalks also, because we've got a lot of paved sidewalks, and I've seen the A-boards, which is don't ride your e-bikes or your e-motorcycles. So I think that we all recognize that this is a really big issue, and we are all hearing it from our community members. So I feel like this section would benefit from a little more work, a little more expansion on what we're talking about. And I hear what Councilmember Pascal is saying as far as we're talking about speed, or we just don't want them there. I also think about, are there places where we don't want people on, we want people to dismount? in particular, the Juanita Beach dock, which is not included on this. I assume that we don't want e-motorcycles on the Juanita Beach dock. There may be heavily congested areas where we want to ask bike riders, whether they're e-bikes or pedal bikes, to dismount. So that's something to keep in mind too. I'm just worried about conflicts. We've talked about grass. Oh, and vehicles is also mentioned in horses and livestock. So again, it was a little confusing to me about how this was organized, and my suggestion is just do an e-bike, e-motorcycle section so that it's really clear. So that was mine. Anyone else? Councilmember Tim Chisholm?
Sorry to speak after you, but I just wanted to broach the subject of whether or not we as a council should address e-bikes and e-motorcycles holistically and review what the rules are in the entire city, as opposed to regulating them within parks and then on a different day or different year regulating them on our streets, and then on a different day or different year regulating them on in bike lanes. I would want our rules and laws around e-bikes to hopefully be consistent throughout our city so that they would be easier to be followed. I'm concerned that we're just piecemealing this. Thank you.
I agree. Okay, all right. What's next?
Next, we have injury to park vegetation and trees, which is a new section, but it was adapted from injury to park property. And again, we split out this section to tease out park property, such as structures, from vegetation, because there were increasing numbers of conflict regarding pruning, specifically for private property owners who border parks and then prune vegetation. And so this code provides increased clarity about enforcement and the rules regarding pruning.
Comments?
Okay, and I believe the last one, this is a misdemeanor, and it is a new section of code. And it is with regard to encroachment in parks. And there is other sections of the Kirkland Municipal Code that speaks to encroachment. The reason that we're specifically calling it out in parks is because there have been a lot of conflicts with encroachment in parks. And this can range in severity from an individual dumping landscape materials in parks to building entire structures in the park spaces. And so this provides clarity for us to enforce and also, most importantly, to communicate and work with the individual who is doing the encroachment. And Jason, would you like to give an example?
It just goes across the spectrum, something simple of just starting out with pruning, but then becoming like a whole landscape project with retaining walls, hot tubs, tree houses, whatever. It's been all kinds of things throughout the year. So it just gives us the opportunity to kind of really, and which we do. We go out to the customer, meet with the customer, talk, say, hey, can you please, even to the point of sometimes having to actually have a survey done because someone doesn't believe that, the back of their property is not the park, right? So there's a lot of customer service that goes into trying to be really helpful and kind of gentle. But at some point, if someone's just being like, hey, too bad, we just needed the tools to kind of be helpful. So which it can move it from a civil into a misdemeanor pretty quickly if they don't want to really work with us at all. So yeah, we have a whole process.
Councilmember Pascal?
Just a question. So today, the way that we handle it, it's a civil infraction typically, and it's not, but under this proposal, it would be a misdemeanor. Is that what?
It depends on what it is. So we've actually had situations where people have just cut trees, so we actually get code enforcement involved, and it's been significant fines. But with this, we're hopeful that we can use the first part of it as being like kind of a progressive threat, like, hey, can you please not do that? And then if someone's that disrespectful to keep on removing and or building, then it escalates into the criminal. So there's a lot of like very gracious, like, hey, can you please not do that? Can you please have this removed within 6 months or a year? Like we're not pressing hard, but at the same time, at some point, if someone doesn't want to work with us, we have to be able to say, actually, this is actually public property. Please help us out.
Yeah, I just was wondering what's the difference between today and what this will do. That's all.
This just gives the tools to do that, right?
So you can't
take
do that
actually give
today. We can't take action today.
Right now, we do not take action as a park staff. We have to bump it up to
Oh,
enforcement or PD. Right.
Okay, so PD, and this will give park staff the ability
Correct.
to do it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And it's with all things, Councilmember. It's with simple things like, it could be down at Juanita Beach, which has been referenced. We have like 10 accessible stalls. We get complaints all the time. People come to the park. There's no place to park. We'll have people without placards or without decals parked in accessible stalls. This would actually give the park ranger the ability to write a simple ticket, just to like show that like the city cares, not versus having to call PD down to like, take them away from what they're doing, just to be able to hold some folks accountable for just poor behavior.
Sorry to clarify one thing, Councilmember Pascal. For encroachments in the park, police department isn't involved in those. Code enforcement is involved. We do it as a sort of code enforcement, and we use code enforcement as a tool, but really they're trespassing. So we have some tools. This just gives a little more clear statements to people for park staff to be able to communicate, rather than immediately needing to escalate to city attorney's office and code enforcement.
Thank you.
All right. Councilor Prim?
Just a quick question around like training. So if a park ranger's given these new responsibilities, I assume that there's a very different level of training that has to be done. Like if currently our police force is taking care of these tasks, they must have a specific skill set to be able to do that. I mean, this is just much more confrontational than, what an existing role is for a park ranger. So how does that work? Like, would we train our existing rangers? Would we hire new rangers with the ability to take on these new tasks? Like, how would that work?
Great question. Currently, there is quite a bit of hands-on training that happens in any kind of new employee, particularly rangers. And for the aspect of if it is these new opportunities are given, then there would be some additional training. But right now, we really focus on the education and outreach, right? We're not looking to like issue citations to people. Really, we want the compliance is what we're looking for. So even if given the ability to take it, it would probably be a minimum. We would focus on the education outreach first and then go to the ticket if we had to, if someone doesn't want to comply.
Okay. So there is a training process then, or?
There is, yeah. And we
Okay.
actually work really closely with PD. PD has some wonderful staff, and our folks have worked with PD, for years. And so there's a nice back and forth in terms of like help and communication and back and forth dialogue, for sure.
Okay, so
If we have a really, it would be kind of it wouldn't be the norm to have a really challenging situation. Most of them would be fairly simple.
So I think what you're saying is like, if this gets implemented, we would likely have a period of time where we would train our rangers to be able to take on these new roles, correct?
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Juliana, anything else?
I think we are ready to proceed to the strategies for improving enforcement of the park's rules.
I actually have a couple comments.
Yeah.
On the other. So anyone else have additional comments? All right. In designated swim areas, we mentioned kayaks and paddle boats. And I think paddle boats, we probably meant paddle boards, which seem to be the most popular use down at the lake. So let's look at that because paddle boards are not called out. As a pet owner, I was confused about the portion where we're talking about dogs swimming in the lake. It's clear that they cannot be on a swim beach, but is the swim beach area the entire beach? For example, at Houghton Beach, there's a swim area, and then there's the side area where people are taking their dogs. Is that okay? Where are the permissible areas which are not signed? If there's an absence of signage, is that area permissible? It's not clear to me, and I think it's going to create some conflicts when the rangers are trying to enforce illegal dog swimming. So, and we need a designated dog swim beach area, but that's another topic at another time. The other thing I wasn't clear about is projectiles in parks. Cornhole, frisbees, are those okay? So
Yeah, I can comment on the projectiles in parks. So it was a fascinating section of code. As currently written, it prohibits playing of games in parks. And so we wanted to change that, but we wanted to be clear that certain activities are not acceptable at busy parks. So for example, golf is not really suitable for Marina Park. And so we tried to find a fine line there of examples of types of projectiles that might be harmful. It does rely a little bit on parks ranger discretion, and we can certainly reevaluate some of that language if it's wanting.
Okay. I mean, cornhole bags could be dangerous if I threw it hard enough.
True.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And in response to the dog swimming areas, so I think at Marina Park would be a good example. So there's the sandy beach area. That is the designated swimming area, but a dog could enter outside. So oftentimes the designated swimming areas have buoys. So those other areas, it is acceptable for a dog to go in the water.
Thank you.
However, technically, they must be on leash.
I know.
True.
All right, go ahead.
So proceeding to some of the updates that would strengthen enforcement. So there are some strategies outlined on the slide. We won't go into complete detail on all of these, but I just want to note that some of these strategies were the result of collaboration between parks, the city attorney's office, police department, and the court. And it included a lot of research, including benchmarking with other cities' codes and staff interviews to hear where the major conflict points are with the community in parks. And we came up out of that collaborative process with these 4 strategies. The first is an enforcement officer designation. The second is really clearly separating misdemeanors from civil infractions in the code. The third is a parks exclusion process. And the fourth, to your point, Mayor, is increased signage and education. We aren't going to touch too much on number 4 today, but just a note to council that signage and education is essential in the implementation of any new park code, so that is noted. To discuss the enforcement officer designation, so I first want to address that enforcement officer sounds a bit of a departure from the role that Lynn described the park rangers playing. And this term stems from the RCW. The intent is not to change the purpose of the parks ranger. So this enforcement officer language is derived from RCW 7.80.040, and it is essential to giving the rangers the standing to cite individuals with civil infractions. So previously, parks rangers had limited commissions from police, and there was a desire to move away from that limited commission due to some concerns blurring the line between police and parks rangers, which then can come with increased training requirements and compliance requirements. So again, the focus of park rangers will still be on customer service and on education, but there will be increased ability for the park ranger to issue civil infractions. And I'll pause for questions.
No questions. Oh, Councilmember Tim Chisholm.
So if a park ranger says, stop, I'd like to issue you a civil infraction, I want to see your ID. And I say, no, thank you. I don't wish to show you my ID. What happens?
That is the best segue I could have ever asked for. So the parks exclusion process would become part of that, or potential escalation with involvement with police, but we can discuss that momentarily.
Okay, all right.
I think one answer to your question, though, is that specifically requires that people comply with a parks enforcement officer. And so the response really is, by code, you are required to comply with my request for you to identify yourself. They still may decline to do so, in which case we don't have a lot of options at that point in time. And one of the reasons why we're interested in the exclusion issue is if we have someone who, say, we know this is the 5th time that they have their dog off leash, we've addressed them several times, they continue to not comply and they won't give us their name, we can say, we are excluding you from the park for the next 5 days. And they don't have to tell us their name to allow that. So it's a way to stop a behavior right now. We kind of see the possibility of doing that with off-leash dogs, but also with the swim areas, compliance with the lifeguards. But us saying that you're required to comply with our request to identify ourselves, unless we have a major public education campaign about this change in the code, people aren't really going to believe it. And that's one of the reasons why we're saying, really, our goal is still going to be education, customer service. We just don't see doing a lot of issuing tickets. First of all, we don't have the people power to do that. But I'm starting to take the thunder of Juliana's next couple slides, so I'm going to stop talking.
Any other questions, guys?
Before we delve completely into some of the exclusion in parks, a key component of the code update was just to restructure the way that it was written. So it's really clear about which violations are civil infractions, therefore enforceable by the park rangers, and which ones are misdemeanors and will still require police enforcement. And so this is just a quick list of some of the civil infractions identified in this code update. And this next page is the misdemeanors. Again, we're happy to come back to discuss any items as needed in a future meeting, but I just wanted to quickly outline some of the distinctions between the two. Okay. And the next strategy is this parks exclusion process. And I want to note that this process does exist in other cities. It is commonly used in Bellevue, Seattle, Renton, Everett, and Spokane. And these cities noted that this process is really helpful for dealing with repeat offenders. And in fact, that is the objective that Parks identified, is to prioritize focusing on repeat offenders in the parks. I do want to note before we completely dive in is that as currently written, a single violation would make somebody eligible for exclusion in parks. But again, the focus from parks rangers will be on repeat offenders. As Lynn noted, the exclusion process allows the park ranger to issue an exclusion notice from any or all parks for a given period, which is commensurate with the offense, which I'll show momentarily. And if somebody refuses to identify themselves by their name or their ID card, the exclusion notice is still effective, and it relies on the park ranger's documentation, either through written documentation or photographs. And for exclusions longer for 1 week, there is an appeal process. And I will move to the next slide to show the exclusions. So for the first offense, an individual is eligible for exclusion for up to 7 days, and so that is at the discretion of the park ranger. And since it's such a short exclusion, it's not eligible for appeal. A second offense within 1 year is eligible for up to 90 days exclusion from parks, and a third offense within 1 year is eligible for up to 1 year exclusion from parks. The appeals process is administrative. It would be a hearing heard by the parks director. The parks director could waive, shorten, or narrow the scope of the exclusion. So for example, if I was excluded from all parks and I appealed, Lynn could determine that I'm actually just excluded from Marina Park and for a shorter period of time. Any questions about this?
Councilmember Tim Chisholm?
You know, when you get it does seem like a logical idea if you get a weapons violation in a park to automatically, attach an exclusion to that. Is that happening?
We do not currently have an exclusion process in the parks, but as currently drafted, a weapon violation would escalate. So if it's your first offense and you have a weapons violation, you could be excluded for longer than 7 days.
Well, a weapons violation would automatically have police involvement,
Yes,
right? It's not going to be a parks ranger.
absolutely.
And so it would be interesting to know if you wanted to exclude every person with a weapons violation for a year, or if that was discretionary, or when you were doing it. but that would, be something that would interest me.
Let's let Chief St. Jean respond.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, this are new tools in the tool belt for parks, the exclusionary piece of that. We still have the ability to trespass people. So currently, if we find someone in the park after hours, we have the ability to not only cite, but we could also trespass that person from that park for up to a year, those kind of things. So 2 different systems here. Totally support parks and what they're trying to do. Again, another tool belt. We work really, really well with them, and I see these kind of going hand in hand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Pascal?
Yeah, thanks, Chief, for that. You answered one of my questions. The other was just, you said that other park systems have had great success with the exclusions. I'd just be interested in hearing more about those successes, what they've experienced from that.
Yes, we heard that it was particularly helpful for repeat offenders. It was a small number of park users who this was often implemented with. And for example, the city of Seattle did about 90 exclusions in a year. So just to sort of give you a sense of the scale and scope, and they've never had an appeal for any of those exclusions.
Great, thank you.
I did mean to mention that if somebody refused to leave after being issued an exclusion notice, then at that point the park ranger would call police, and then police could issue a trespass. I have one slide asking for council feedback, and then one more slide discussing park board feedback.
Council, any more thoughts? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The park board had 2 touch points with this code. They provided really excellent feedback, particularly on that practicing and playing games section of code that's since become projectiles in parks. They also provided great feedback on structures in parks, parks hours, and the smoking section as previously discussed. And the park board did recommend that council adopt the draft update to the Kirkland Municipal Code 1180. That is all we have.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Okay, my council is fading. We are now moving on to council and committee reports. Deputy Mayor.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. In the interest of time, I'm going to try to keep this quick. There has been a lot going on, so some wonderful community events. I don't want to ignore them completely, so I'll just run down real quick some exciting stuff that me and other members of the council were involved in over the last couple weeks. That included raising of the pride flag for city employees here at City Hall. We read our Jewish American Heritage Month proclamation for a couple of our area synagogues. A few of us attended the Indian American Community Service Youth Advocacy Civic Summit. Councilmember Prem and Councilmember Arnold joined for that. And then we also had, as discussed at our last meeting, we had the grand opening of the Kirkland Heights, which is the King County Housing Authority, with 276 mostly family-sized affordable homes. And that was a wonderful event, and it included our Congresswoman Susan DeBene and our state rep Larry Springer. And I was joined there by Councilmember Tim Chizen and Mayor Curtis. Regional orgs and committees, just 2 to mention, and I'm going to leave one for the, I almost said the Deputy Mayor, for Councilmember Arnold, which is the Puget Sound Regional Council General Assembly. I attended that with Councilmember Arnold and Mayor Curtis, and as you guys recall, you authorized me to be your voting representative, so I did my duty there. The only one I want to touch on with a little bit more detail is the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee met and had a very interesting presentation about sort of the state of some key aspects of our county justice system. So we heard a presentation by Superior Court We heard a presentation by the Public Defender's Office, and we also heard a presentation by the Prosecutor's Office. So sort of, three key legs of the stool when it comes to our county justice system, felony, criminal activity and above. And Superior Court presenting was this year's presiding judge, spoke mainly to two issues that have been sort of hot topics for the Superior Court, and that is the civil protection order calendar and the timing related to that, and also the unlawful detainer action calendar. The unlawful detainer action calendar, as most of you probably remember, that is a hearing to evict a tenant. Probably the most interesting thing about that is hearing from the Superior Court all the measures they've taken to speed up the unlawful detainer action calendar, now down to first hearing within just 2 weeks, despite the fact that evictions have never been higher in the state of, or in King County. There was a belief, I think, by the court, and the court addressed this, that after the moratorium lifted, that there was going to be sort of like a pig in the python kind of situation, of a backlog of evictions, and that eventually the system would work the pig works its way through the python. I saw a look from the mayor. The pig would make its way through the python and evictions would eventually dip. That has absolutely not been the case. It's the new steady that evictions are extremely high in King County. And the court has taken a lot of steps to make sure that those unlawful detainer actions are being heard speedily in just 2 weeks, which the one downside to that I'll just mention is they've taken some of the resources away from civil protection orders, which means the complexity of civil protection orders, that's a slower process than it would have been, but the court has prioritized that. I'll just mention that. So I also heard from the Public Defender's Office. The news from the Public Defender's Office right now is really good. They have the public defenders and the resources to cover all of the indigent defendants who are entitled to public defense. That's interesting in contrast with the prosecutor's office. Prosecutor's office is not complaining about not being able to handle the workload, but what they are talking a lot about is making sure there's parity or at least equity, depending on how caseloads as a prosecutor versus caseloads as a public defender are viewed. So I'll use the term sort of an equitable allocation of resources. So they are looking to the county council for parity or equity in funding of the prosecutor's office. That is an issue, I bring it up mainly because that's an issue that may get elevated to Sound Cities Association and the Public Interest Committee. It's not clear yet. There are some conversations being had with the county prosecutor, the prosecuting attorney, about what she believes her needs are for the office, and I'll be engaged in those conversations on behalf of the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee in my role as chair of the Sound City Association caucus. So more on that perhaps in the future, but I'm kind of looking at Councilmember Prim, who's our representative on PIC, the Public Interest Committee. That is a topic. Parity in budget resources for the prosecutor's office, that may be something we see elevated within Sound Cities Association. So more to come on that.
That would have been an awesome email, because I'm not going to remember it all at 11 o'clock at night.
I'm happy to put an email, but it won't be tonight.
No. Thank you. Councilmember Pascal.
It was too important to ignore completely. Thanks.
I thought you had something else. Okay. The only thing that I'd mention, and this will come out in an email, is the Cascade Water Alliance board meeting was last week, and we had an update on the capital funding program for the next so many years, and pretty big costs in there that I think we kind of touched on at the study session last meeting, but there's more kind of depth and more information there. That I've seen, that the most I've seen so far. So lots of questions. That obviously is going to impact rates. And there's more work to do. and we'll see where this goes. But I think Gina will send a summary of the board meeting to you all.
Thank you. Councilor Pratt?
Yeah, super quick. I did attend the Indian Youth Advocacy Civic Summit this last weekend. It was really fantastic, just discussing a whole bunch of issues with our youth who are super smart. And then next week I'll be attending the SCA PIC meeting, the Kirkland Senior Art Show, which I'm actually really excited about, and then the Chamber State of the City Luncheon is also coming up. So a lot of activity in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Councilor Arnold?
Thank you. As the Deputy Mayor said, the Puget Sound Regional Council General Assembly met last week, and I sent around an email for council with this, but for the public, it was a presentation on economic competitiveness in the region that was fascinating. Those slides and recording of the General Assembly is available on the PSRC website. Later that afternoon, I attended the Sound Transit Board meeting where the board passed their enterprise initiative with hours and hours of amendments. The net is that the 4 line, which is light rail from Kirkland to Issaquah, was preserved but delayed to 2050. Details with a lot of astute analysis from our transportation manager are in your inbox. Upcoming, the State Building Code Council next week on Wednesday the 10th and Friday the 12th will be having public hearings on the current proposal for the building code that would go into effect in 2027. We heard some public comment on this tonight. Embodied carbon is one of the policy issues that I wanted to flag as under consideration. In addition, there's some innovative work around allowing sixplex housing under the residential code instead of the more involved building code, and allowing for a 6-story multifamily housing with a single stair exit in the name of affordability, and changes to electric vehicle charging standards in multifamily housing, increasing the number of EV-capable spaces to 40% of parking. The SBCC is looking for feedback on those next week. Public comment closes on June 12th. And then the Code Council would be taking action in the fall.
Thank you. Councilor Tim Chisholm?
June 12th, can I get a ticket to that lunch?
Of course.
That'd be awesome. That is my report.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I'm going to add that wasn't mentioned, 2 things that weren't mentioned. 2 ribbon cuttings, Crabby Old Farts Pea Patch, just have to say it. That was really fun. And the unveiling of the Windward sculpture down at David Brink's Park. So, City Manager, to you.
Okay, thank you. So just one quick update before we get to the calendar. Yours truly has been elected as the president of Racer once again. So 4 years in a row, I'm going well. And we do have the Racer Principals Assembly, which is on Wednesday, June 10th. So we'll have a report back on that when that happens. We'll also be sending the materials out to the full council so you can all have them as well. And that's my update. Just want to see if there's any council agenda changes.
I see none.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.